As a reminder, please turn off or silence your cell phones during the procedures. Good morning. You are attending the Animal Matters Commission hearings for March 4th, 2024. The Animal Matters Commission was established and is conducted in accordance with Article 12 of the Anne Arundel County Code. These are administrative hearings, and by nature they are informal, which means you are not hampered by rules of evidence. However, please be aware that you are still testifying under oath. Each party will have their opportunity to state their case. After each party states their case, they will have an opportunity to ask questions of the other party. Please do not interrupt the other party. You will be given ample time to speak. In many cases, we are aware that there is a history. You may briefly tell the commission about the history. However, please focus on the issue at hand. After each case, the commission will have open deliberations. During these deliberations, the public may not participate. If the commissioners have an additional question, you may answer that question. No further information will be heard, and a decision will be rendered. This decision is a recommendation to the chief of police or their representative. The recommendation of the commission will be taken into consideration, and a final decision will be made by the chief of police or their designated representative. If, as a defendant in the case, you're unhappy with the decision of the commission, you may appeal. For citation cases, appeals are made through the District Court of Maryland. For administrative orders, potentially dangerous, or vicious orders, appeals are made through the County Board of Appeals. Please call the first case.
The first case is going to be Jennifer Connor versus Daniel Power, and it's for a running at large citation that ends in 568. All parties that have an interest in this case, please use the raise hand function so that I can promote you up to a panelist. And when you promote, please keep your audio on mute. Okay, it looks like you have both joined. Do you folks have the ability to turn on your videos now? Wonderful. And are there only two witnesses for this case? Just you, no one else has an extra witness, is that correct? Okay. I'm going to ask you to unmute, and then I'm going to swear you both in. Do you declare and affirm under penalties? Oh, I'm sorry. Please raise your right hand and keep your right hand raised. Do you declare under penalties of perjury the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Okay, and then I'm going to ask each of you to state your name and address for the record, going in agenda order. Ms. Connor, if you can go first.
Yes, my name is Jennifer Connor. My address is 1183 Latrobe Drive, Annapolis, Maryland, 21409.
Okay, and Mr. Power?
Daniel Power, 1008 Lake Claire Drive, Annapolis, Maryland, 21409.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to go ahead and turn things back over to the chair.
Okay, Ms. Connor, you are the complainant in this issue. You will state your case first.
Thank you. So I live just up the street from an area in our community that is called Lake Claire Beach. It's within the boundaries of our neighborhood, and you access that beach by Lake Claire Drive, which is where Mr. Power lives. The back of his property ends, and then the community beach begins. There's a short sandy area. between the end of his property and then the water's edge of the Magothy River. And the beach goes from beyond his property to the right as you're looking at the river, over past a pier, and then there's a parking lot, and the beach continues between the river and the parking lot. And then there's like a little shack where beach equipment and boat equipment is stored, and then there's a short beach beyond that. So it's not a particularly long area, but the beach, the sand, and the dune area is all owned by the Cape St. Clair Improvement Association. The owners that live, there's 5 or 6 houses right there, and none of their property boundaries extend to the water. They don't have riparian rights there. And it is a community beach that is owned by the Improvement Association and maintained by the Improvement Association for the good of the community. And Mr. Power, because he lives right there, but routinely is seen by myself and other neighbors with his dog off leash running at large on the beach. And while they sometimes are by the edge of their property, oftentimes the dog has been seen off leash by myself on other parts of the beach. When I walk my dog on leash on the pier, the dog has run up to us on the pier, has run up to us on the beach. There was one instance where the dog ran up to us where they were actually standing on the end of the beach as far away from his property as possible. And he didn't even notice at first that his dog had run up to my dog. For whatever reason, my dog does not care for his dog. I don't know what the issue is, but it's very difficult when I have an on-leash dog and there's an off-leash dog running at us to keep my dog calm, and then I have to sort of drag her out of the area. It's created situations where I either choose to not enjoy one of my community benefits because I'm afraid that they'll be there, or because I get there and see the dog and then my dog reacts, and so I have to drag her out of there. One of my neighbors told me that when he goes down there and this dog is off leash, he has to pick his dog up and carry his dog out of the beach. The neighbors that walk dogs regularly refer to Mr. Power as the off-leash dog guy. It's a well-known problem. And in fact, I've seen him and the dog off-leash on multiple occasions, as many as 3 just last week, since this hearing has been scheduled. I initially called animal control back in May, asking that just a letter be sent, because I just want it to stop. We all want to be able to enjoy the beach without an off-leash dog running up on our dog. I don't want my dog to react in a way that would cause an issue because we're being rushed at by this dog. And by all appearances, the dog seems friendly, but that's not the point. We're in a public area where leashes are required, and this dog runs full force at us. I can't always know what the reaction is going to be. My dog, other dogs that are there are a lot of people that walk dogs there, and we just want to be able to enjoy this community space without having to worry. Another neighbor had this dog run up and grab her sandals and take them into the water. She was going to testify today, but her son has a fever and she had to take him to the pediatrician, so she was unable to do so. But this is a well-known problem amongst those of us that use this beach and visit this beach. And at the end of the day, I just want him to keep his dog on a leash and not use the community area as an extension of his backyard.
Okay. Is there anything else? Did you enter any other kind of evidence?
So I had initially sent a list of dates and times that I had seen this, and I had sent some photographs in the initial paperwork that was mailed in. And then last Monday, I emailed plats of both his property and the beach property showing that his property does end prior to the beach and that the beach is not his personal property.
So
Commissioners?
really the only point of the plats are just to demonstrate that Mr. Power's property does not extend to the water line, correct?
Correct. And
Okay.
that sort of supplements the photos I sent where the dog was clearly at water's edge.
Can't talk to him.
And so the dog is routinely well beyond Mr. Power's property line. I've had him run up on the pier. So yeah, the point of the property boundary is I don't live there. I live about half a mile up the street. But the point is just that the community beach is not, there is no part of it that is his property where he would theoretically be able to have the dog in a different state. But that all of the beach and the dunes belong to the community association and the leash laws apply there.
Thank you.
Not seeing the
Robin?
photos.
Yeah,
Can someone point out to me where they are on the file? I'm not seeing them.
They're in the case file.
I'll see what I can do to help.
yeah, they're not in mine, so.
Yeah, they're at the bottom where the
Yeah, it's the
affidavit and
last-
everything is.
Oh,
Right, it was the
I
the
got
last
'em.
PDF on the bottom of the.
Yep. Thanks,
dog.
Nicole.
Ms. Connor, real quick, those steps, whose steps are those that are in these photos? It's kind of hard to make out what
Those-
they are.
I believe that those are his steps or the neighbor steps. All of the properties they're all like sloped. All of those houses have backyards that are sort of sloped down. And then the edge of the slope where it flattens out is where the CSCIA property starts. And so there's some dunes, there's some tall grasses, and then there's sand. And the CSCIA property starts where it gets flat. So I can't remember if those are his steps or the neighbor steps, but beyond the steps is the community property. And that just happens to be the photos that I got that day, but there have been instances where the dog has been as far away from his property line as the far end of the beach. If you look at the plat that's just of the beach, like all the way past house 1, the dog has been on the beach to the left of house 1, where his lot is lot 5.
Okay, and you said the dog was also down by the pier. Is that where the parking lot is?
Yes, the dog has been on the pier in the parking lot as recently as Friday, off leash. He's been beyond the pier. He's been, if you look at the plat of the beach property, he's been on the beach in the corner where if you see lot 1, which is the first house, the dog has been in that far corner, which is certainly not near the edge of lot 5. And then they often go into the grasses that are in between Lake Claire and the Magothy River, which is at the top of that plat.
Any other questions from the commission?
Is there anything else the commission members need to see on the screen? Or am I good to stop sharing?
I'm good.
You good?
I think we got a
I'm
good.
good.
Thank you. Okay, Jennifer, are you satisfied with your case as stated?
Yeah. Yes, thank you.
All right then, Mr. Power, you may respond.
Yes, I apologize to Ms. Connor for any harm to her or her dog. Our dog Bowie is 100% Labrador Retriever puppy. I say this because she does not have a mean bone in her body. Aggressive behavior is not in her DNA. In fact, when other dogs act aggressive towards her, she just stops and wags her tail fast. She'd rather play fetch than eat. I had never met Miss Connor. I was unaware of the concerns until I received this citation in November. There are 2,200 homes that have beach access to our community. I can see the beach from our house, yes, and I see off-leash dogs playing in the water every day. Not authorized, just a reality. Last year, I was training our puppy lab to swim and fetch, occasionally off-leash, as Miss Connor noted 4 times in 4 months when Bowie ran up to her. She never barks when running up to play with a new friend, as incorrectly stated in her complaint. Bowie does bark with excitement when she's playing. One important step in effective conflict management, is to initiate dialogue. If I was aware of this conflict, I would have addressed it sooner. Since November, I've done the following to be a better pet owner. Since our puppy's been fully vaccinated, we run off leash at the local dog park. I registered for a second training class to manage her playing bark, and we bought a 26-foot retractable leash for the beach. Last year, I was training Bowie in the grass in the beach area behind our residence. Miss Connor submitted some photographs that you've been talking about. Let me show you a bit where the distance we're talking about. It's a little bit creepy, I must admit, having all these photographs of myself submitted and mailed to me without my notice. So there's the area that's been talked about where I was training Bowie last year, and again off leash sometimes. And there's the pier, if you can see it, where she took the photographs. It's got to be a 300-foot run as the dog runs to get to them. So she's just taking photographs of me playing it in the water edge. Again, last year, mid-October was the last noted event that she took photos from there. So that's my case. I wish I was aware of this sooner. I've taken some steps to address it, and she is still a puppy, but I'm still training her the best I can to be a better pet owner. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Power. Commission have any other questions of either witness?
Mr. Power, how do you respond to the allegation that you just had Bowie off leash in the beach area last Friday?
Yes, I did notice her there, Ms. Connor, that is, and I had my retractable leash. She either didn't see it or forgot to mention it. I just had knee surgery, so I didn't put it on until I got down there, but I was right as I went down the beach at our property line, I put the retractable leash on.
The photos that Miss Connor showed us, is that in fact your dog?
It is, and that's last year.
Okay. Are either one of you aware of any community rules regarding leashing at the community beach?
It's same as in Arundel. The leashes are required.
Okay.
But again, the reality is that that dogs swim in the water every day, and that doesn't mean that I am right or they're right or they're wrong. Excuse me, or I'm wrong. It's just a reality.
Okay, then. None of these instances resulted in any contact, did they?
No.
Okay.
Jennifer, you're muted. We didn't hear what you said.
Yeah. you
I'm
agree?
sorry. There was like instances where they were nose to nose, but never any biting or scratching or anything of that nature. But there were multiple instances where they were nose to nose and I had to drag my dog away.
Last year,
Correct.
October 9th was the last time that you noted.
Since then, I try to leave before that can happen.
Okay.
Would you like to set up a play date, Ms. Connor? The dogs.
Okay, hearing no response to that, we're going to move on. And with no more questions, I guess, from the commission, they seem to be. Jennifer, do you have any? Ms. Brianza, do you have any?
No, I don't.
Oh, okay. I thought I saw your hand up. All right, I guess we'll close for deliberations then, unless anybody has anything else. You guys ready? We will start with, let's go with Jennifer, since I was on there.
First of all, I just want to say that's probably the friendliest case I've heard in my last few years here on the commission. I appreciate there's an issue, and I'm glad we can address it. But it was very refreshing to actually see the two neighbors just be so nice about it. I don't know how else to describe it. I think it's pretty clear. I mean, the defendant admitted his dog was off the leash. Now that he's aware of the problem, I believe he's going to correct it. I have to say, having looked at the pictures firsthand, not having seen the plat, I would assume my dog could run straight out to the water too. So, but in any event, the dog was at large. Everyone seems to be in agreement in that. I'd be willing to reduce the fine because it seems like these folks really are good neighbors. We're not looking to punish anybody, just kind of take more of a corrective action here. So.
Thank you, Jennifer. Corporal Wall?
He admitted to him being off leash, so can't really argue that point at all. So I'm with Jen on that one.
Okay. Nicole?
Same vote to uphold the citation.
Okay. Jackie?
I agree. It was refreshing to have Mr. Power just admit it and not try to rebut anything. But we should uphold the citation. It's obvious the dog was at large.
Okay. Dr. Hammer?
I agree with Jennifer, and the rest of the commission should uphold, but I agree with Jennifer that we should probably reduce the fine. It looks like I'm getting the sense that we do have a good set of neighbors here and they want to go forward in a positive direction. Now that everybody's been put on notice this time, I think that would be a reasonable resolution to this citation.
Thank you. Tom?
Yeah, I agree with everyone else. I mean, Mr. Powers, keeps pointing out that this happened last year. This citation was in fact, from last year. So I think it all lines up, and I think we should go ahead and uphold. I'd be perfectly fine reducing the fine, having it, or something like that would be fine. So anything. If anybody wants to make a motion on that, I'd be happy to vote for it.
I agree with everyone. There was a lack of communication, I believe. If he had been notified, one-on-one or somehow, some way, he probably would have taken the corrective action, it seems. But yes, it was off leash. So, but I feel he's got a warning and he has taken the actions he needed to do. I think it could have been cut short, but anyway, yeah, we need a motion. I agree with just about everybody on here. I don't think we should uphold it completely.
We'll make a motion that we uphold the citation and waive the fine.
I second.
All in favor? Thank you, Jennifer, for that. There you go. Okay. Robin, I guess we call the next one.
That was unanimous, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Sorry, just making sure I have my notes on board before we move on. The next case, if you can please plan on using the raise hand function to let me know that you're interested in promoting to be a panelist so that you can join. If all parties who have an interest in this case who wish to testify, please utilize the raise hand function so I can promote you to panelist. Once promoted, please refrain from speaking until I have everyone for the case promoted. And the case that we are calling now is Donna Cole versus Rachel Olson. Donna Cole versus Rachel Olson. This is for a citation for running at large ending in 686. Miss Olson and Miss Cole, is there anyone else that you're anticipating to be a witness today?
I don't have anyone, just me.
Miss Cole, anyone with you?
No, it's just me.
Okay, if I could please have you both raise your right hand and keep your hand raised. Do you declare and affirm under the penalties of perjury the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
I do.
Okay, and then we're gonna start with Miss Cole. If you can please provide your name and address, and then we'll move to Miss Olson.
Certainly, Donna Cole, 2806 Clove Lane, Edgewater, Maryland, 21037.
Okay, Miss Olson.
Rachel Olson, 209 Cinnamon Lane, Edgewater, Maryland, 21037.
Okay, Mr. Evans, I'm gonna turn things back over to you.
Okay. Ms. Cole, you are the complainant in this case, and you will state your case.
Yes, sir. On December 28th, 2023 at around 4 p.m., my daughter and I were walking our dog down Cinnamon Lane when a Rottweiler headed off of Miss Olson's property directly at us and our dog. My dog is very reactive, so this is scary because he, not having any common sense, would go after the Rottweiler despite his much smaller size. Anyway, it came out of the yard and it kept coming at us. It was not running. It was more like a trot. So it wasn't, I feel very fortunate that this dog was not running at a high rate of speed. There was no contact. I started screaming, no, 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 very loudly over and over again. And Miss Colson came out of her house or out of her yard, running towards her dog and calling to the dog. And the dog returned to her. There was never a point where the dog had any contact at us. It was still relatively far away. It was out in the street off of her property and coming at us. But just really thankful that she came out of her house, got the dog under control and back to her. She even called out to us if we were asked if we were okay, and I said yes. That's the end of the story.
Okay. And all right. Ms. Olson, then
Yes.
you can respond.
Okay. Thank you. So Donna, first off, I just want to apologize to you formally for that. We are fully aware that we implemented this invisible fence. It worked with our old dog. It is not working with her. It's made very clear that she's a Rottweiler. She's obviously, visibly scary. She has been a little bit more reactive, as some dogs just are and some dogs aren't, than our former Rottweilers. I've had it my whole life. been through training, but she is a little bit more reactive. We have totally, well, the invisible fence is still there, but we no longer use it because it is not working for her. She's been through formal training, and it is just not something that we use anymore. Occasionally, it would not occasionally, but initially it would work, right? And then she would kind of be a little provoked again, as she is a little bit more reactive than our previous animals. So one, I just want to apologize. And if I was in your situation, I would be very, scared too at a large dog coming at me. I mean, she's very sweet, but only, we would know that, right? And she has become reactive with other dogs. So we have put in a lot of measures at this point now to she's reinstated in training. She no longer, we still actually keep her collar on in the house just to kind of keep that, I guess, like control with her. But she no longer uses the invisible fence. She's no longer, it's just not an option for us anymore. So this hasn't been a problem since these incidents. So again, just wanted to apologize. I understand this is very serious and it could have gotten to a different level. So I'm thankful for both of us that that did not happen, and it will not happen again.
Any commissioners have any questions?
Real quick, Ms. Olson, we're just trying to get through all these files. How old is your dog?
She's 4.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, Ms. Olson, other than the training that you had mentioned, what other measures have you taken? Do we have a physical fence out there?
So we do not. We're on like over an acre. We've gotten quotes for physical fences. My husband and I did just start talking about that in January. If we were to stay here, would we get in a fence? We've looked at moving over the last like 6 months or so, and we're only looking at fenced in yards or yards that are easily fenced in. We back up to a lot of wood, so that's kind of why initially they recommended the invisible fence. And again, it worked with our former dog. And it's just not seeming to work with her. She just seems to be a little bit more stubborn than the average. But outside of reinstating her in training, where she goes now, we're walking her and training her 2 to 3 times a day just to keep her from just continually like engaging with other dogs and continually training her as she gets older. We did do leash free living when she was younger, and she actually did like a 6-week stay there. Unfortunately, it just hasn't, I guess, sat with her. So we're just continually training her and not allowing her outside. And she has a crate that she stays in, outside of that. So that's kind of the stuff that we've done.
And again, what is the name of the dog?
Dakota.
Dakota?
Mm-hmm.
Just to be clear, so in this situation, you had the dog, you had the invisible fence. At the time, you were assuming the dog was being contained by the fence. You would let the dog outside to use the bathroom or to just spend time outside. Now you realize that doesn't happen. You're now using a leash to take the dog outside. There's no there's no opportunity for the dog to be outside without you otherwise.
That is correct. I think on this occasion, I was trying to remember, but I believe on this occasion I was outside with her, which is why I was able to kind of get to her as quickly. Truthfully, the way that our house is set up, I believe that this kind of became like a game to her with this invisible sense to kind of track dogs and people as they walk by. Like dogs can be reactive, and once we realized like that's what it was, and she was just kind of going through like this, we had to just totally revoke it and just no longer use it at all as a disciplinary measure for her. So yeah, that was the case.
Okay. Anybody have anything else? Well, Ms. Olson, we don't have any records of Dakota being licensed or any vaccinations. Has this taken place?
Oh yeah, she's vaccinated. She goes to Davisonville Veterinary Clinic, Dr. Pelora. So we were just there a few weeks ago.
Is she licensed in the county?
She is. I have her paperwork. I thought I just renewed it. I did a 3-year initially for her.
Okay, you might want to send some copies of that to the Anne Arundel County Animal Care and Control.
Yeah, they sent me the blue form, like the little slip with the reminder last month, and so I sent that back with her stuff.
Okay. Okay.
It wasn't like outdated, it was like a reminder.
Okay, yeah, and that's fine. We just need to, when these things happen, we need to make sure that there's no chance of rabies being spread or anything like that, and whatever. So just
Okay, so just make
look.
sure that because that I guess is what it basically says, like she's vaccinated and all of that.
Right. That should be on record with Animal Care and Control. On Maxwell Fry Road, you know where it is. I'm sure you got all the paperwork.
Yep,
So
I have that blue slip right here.
okay, great. Any questions from any other commissioner? Or do the parties have questions of each other? Okay, hearing none, we will close for deliberations on this case. All right. Let's see who we're going to start with now. I'm just going to go around in the opposite circle. We'll start with Tom.
I mean, again, these people seem familiar with each other, and it sounds like Miss Olson has taken some steps here, but she has admitted that the animal was off property, and it was not a great situation. So, I think we should uphold the citation for running at large, and potentially discuss lessening the fine again potentially.
Thank you, Tom. Dr. Hammer?
Yeah, I agree with Tom. I think this is pretty cut and dry. And once again, I think we've got two neighbors that are trying to work to a amicable resolution. And I think we ought to try and foster that as best as we can within the guise of the law.
Very good. Jackie?
I agree with everyone, and this is such a nice day starting out.
Yes,
Hopefully
it
it continues.
Yes.
Must have been that nice weather yesterday or something. I don't know.
Yeah, and I'm watching all the birds play out in front of me, so it's just a wonderful day.
There we go. Keep it going. Spread the love. That's cool. All right, Nicole?
Same, vote to uphold the citation.
Okay. Jennifer?
I agree. I vote to uphold the citation, but I'd be willing to consider reducing the fine like we did in the last case.
Okay, and Corporal Wall?
Same here, uphold it and drop the fine if that's what we're choosing to do.
I agree with everyone. So it's just a matter of a motion.
I'll make a motion that we uphold the citation and waive the fine.
I'll second
I'll
it.
second. Okay.
Well, okay. Well, sounds like all in favor? Another unanimous vote. We'll keep that going.
Okay. All parties who have an interest in the case of Denise Walker versus Rachel Olson, please use the raise hand function so that I can promote you. And please keep your mute on until we are ready to take the next step. Ms. Olson, I want to remind you that you are still under oath. Ms. Walker, I'm going to ask that you please raise your right hand and keep it raised for me. Do you declare and affirm under the penalties of perjury the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Okay, if you could please state your name and address for the record.
Denise Walker, 2809 Fennell Road, Edgewater, Maryland, 21037.
Okay, I'm going to turn things over to you, Chairman Evans.
Okay. Ms. Walker, you are the complainant in this case, so You must state your case first.
Okay.
What happened?
So on November the 20th in the morning around 9 a.m., I was walking my puppy, a mixed Australian lab. She's only 30 pounds. And I was walking up Cinnamon Lane, and I had reached halfway up, and a Rottweiler came rushing out towards us and started to growl. Both started to growl, and I assumed that something was going to happen because they were being very aggressive, and the Rottweiler snatched my dog's fur while I was snatching her up with her harness. So I did avoid the dogs, in any altercation. So I did scream out to come and get your dog. Your dog is loose. And some kids came running out and they were calling the dog. And I held my dog and I was walking back to my house. And while I was walking back to my house, Rachel Olsen, she came driving down with her car to apologize, to see if we were okay. At that point in time, I was really shaken. And I really didn't want to hear at the time an apology because I just avoided. Thank God my dog was small enough for me to pick her up. But she did get nipped on her fur. And I just walked away at that time. But yes, Rachel was very apologetic. It happened. She did say how her kids let the dog out without the collar. And she does have an invisible fence, but he breaks that fence on an occasion. I did reach out to our homeowners association to let them know what had happened that morning. And they did advise me within that 36-hour period, there were 3 messages of the dog being out within that time period. And that was one was including my own. So they did advise if I would like to go move further to ensure that it doesn't happen again, because we do like walking our neighborhood. We have a great neighborhood. And they did advise for me to go ahead and file the complaint.
Okay. Very good. Do you have any further witnesses or evidence or anything you'd like to enter at this time?
I did mention it to one of my neighbors what had happened because she also has a dog and kids, and I know that they walk on that street. And she did advise that it did also happen to her. The dog came out and rushed her, and she had let her dog loose to run home to avoid any altercation with Rachel Olsen's dog.
Okay. Any questions of the commission?
Yes, I've got one. Ms. Walker, did you seek veterinary care for the injuries your dog sustained from the interaction?
No, because she was small enough for me to snatch her up with her harness and hold her. And I did inspect her and she was fine, which I did tell Rachel. She got only nipped on the fur because I grabbed her up in time before anything could have happened.
So, if I'm understanding you correctly, there was no demonstrable injury to your dog.
Correct. That's correct.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Ms. Olson, you may respond.
Yes, thank you. So, Denise, just want to apologize again. I know I already have, but all 3 cases have been reported, as you mentioned, due to the recommendation of our HOA, which is what we're here for. So we realize that this is a problem, a serious problem. We have a large dog who is it has become reactive with this fence, and has had now, a few occasions of this. I'm thankful that nothing happened to your dog, and that there was no, contact there. We no longer are using this fence at all. There was a point where the dog, the kids are running in and out. The dog likes to be outside with them, which is why we liked the invisible fence initially, that she could run and play with him within our yard. We realized that is not a viable option for our dog, and for our family in this neighborhood. We understand that, she is kind of broken that and goes outside of this fence. So therefore, we no longer use this fence. We haven't since these incidents, and we do not have any plans to. We've also reinstated her into additional training, which I've explained as well, and have been implementing taking her on 2 to 3 walks a day just to kind of retrain her and reintroduce her and familiarize her, so that she hopefully is not this reactive dog anymore. She's a very sweet dog, but that fence has kind of made it like a game for her in a sense. And it's really unfortunate because that was not our goal of that fence. That's basically kind of where it stands. I can assure you this will not happen again. She will not get out, and we do not use the fence. And we have all, as a family, committed to continually training her and getting her back to the point that she was, so that we can avoid any issues for any of our neighbors. We live in a great neighborhood. I hate the fact that this is a problem. And we understand the severity of it and the seriousness of it. And we're going to do everything we can to make sure that we don't have any additional issues like this.
Ms. Olson, to that point, and I don't believe in the first case the children were mentioned. I would strongly recommend a secondary barrier. In this situation, if your dog was able to escape because the children just happened to open the door and the dog charged out.
Right.
I actually just had this happen in my house the other day. My son opened the door. My dog, I guess he was bored. He wanted to take off and he saw a squirrel or something. So I would strongly recommend, I understand the fencing issue is one thing, but secondary barriers can be a really big, easy thing to do to keep this from happening again.
Yeah, we've actually just bought, we're waiting for them to come in. They're like the pods that you can put around your house, and we're putting them around our doors and our windows right there. That kind of like shock her back. So that's, I failed to mention that initially, but that's another measure that we've taken just to help with her not be so reactive with the doors and coming in and out. She's a very playful dog. She's 4, but she's got a lot of energy. So she likes to run and go around, and the kids play with her and they wrestle and they go out back and do all of that. But that's for our household only. And until we have a fence or move to an area that's a fenced in yard, it's just, she's not staying within her perimeter. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions of the commission? Either party have questions to each other?
No.
Okay. Hearing none, we will close for deliberation then on this case. So we will go around again in the opposite direction. Corporal Wally?
She admitted to the dog coming off and went and apologized. I understand that, but this is the second case, and I believe we have a third one, the same thing. And she's being charged with public safety threat, correct? So while at large chases or approaches a lawfully restrained animal in an aggressive manner, I believe it falls underneath that. So I'm for holding this.
I hear you. Thank you. Jennifer?
Yeah, I think I agree with Corporal Wally. I would point out that this was prior to this incident. In this case, took place prior to the other one. It seemed like there was a flurry of, from what I'm hearing, about 3 incidents within a certain amount of time. And I believe the last case is the latest. The prior case we just heard was the latest one, and I guess the final straw to make Ms. Olson do away with using the electronic fence. So I suspect, although I don't want to taint a future case, that we're going to hear something similar in the next case as being the third incident that was referenced today, but there's no dispute in the facts. I have no idea. Maybe I should know better being on this commission, what the implication is for Dakota if we uphold the public safety threat citation. But I'm not sure we have a choice since there doesn't seem to be any dispute it happened.
Thank you, Jennifer. Nicole?
I vote to uphold the citation.
Thank you. Jackie?
This one is obviously a little bit different from the previous one, but if we look at public safety threat kills or inflicts injury, yes, there was contact, but there was no injury. So I think we need to
That's
take
not
that
what
into
this,
consideration.
the public safety threat checked on this citation is while at large chases or approaches a person in an aggressive manner.
Okay, thank you. Then yes, we should uphold it. Thanks.
Okay. While we're looking at the complaint, take a minute. And then Dr. Hammer, your feeling?
Yeah, thank you, Tom. And I agree with everything that's been discussed this morning, and I think Commissioner Berge's comment on the secondary barrier is really appropriate here in this particular instance. But I believe we've got to uphold this this citation.
And with that, we will go to Tom.
Yeah, again, I'll reiterate, again, secondary barriers. I believe physical barriers more than electronic barriers all the time are better. I mean, I use an e-collar on my German short hair pointer and it works great, but it doesn't work all the time. So I think a physical barrier is definitely appropriate. I know it can be a pain in the house sometimes, but I think sometimes, even if it's on the front porch or something, it can be unsightly. But otherwise, I vote to uphold.
And I'm pretty much on point with the commission. I'm still left kind of scratching my head as to why we're not looking at a potentially dangerous order here, at least with hearing the next case. But having said that, that would have maintained a secondary barrier and other things. So I'm just throwing that out there. But yes, do I hear a motion?
Yeah, I move to uphold citations as they're stated.
I second.
And seconded. Okay, all in favor? Okay. All right. Next case. And yeah, never mind. I'll wait till later to talk about that. You can call the next case, Robin, when we're ready.
Okay, the next case is going to be Jerry O'Malley versus Rachel Olson. I want to have all parties who have an interest in this case who wish to testify, please utilize the raise hand function so I can promote you to panelist. Once promoted again, please refrain from speaking until I have everyone for the case promoted. And then I just want to confirm, Mr. O'Malley, do you have any other witnesses that'll need to be brought up?
No, ma'am.
Okay. I'm gonna have you, Mr. O'Malley, please raise your right hand. Do you declare and affirm under penalties of perjury the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Please state your name and address for the record.
Gerald O'Malley, 2802 Clove Lane, Edgewater, Maryland, 21037.
Okay, and Ms. Olson, I just want to remind you that you are still under oath.
Yes, thank you.
Chairman Evans, I'm turning things over to you.
Okay, then. Mr. O'Malley, you are the complainant in the case, so you will state your case first. Tell us what happened.
Yeah. I would echo the comments of the people on this committee. I mean, this is the first time I've ever joined anything like this, and I'm just so impressed by how, how courteous everyone is to one another. So thank you for making this a comfortable experience. I believe it was November 18th on Saturday morning. My case is just a little bit different. I was walking my dog on Cinnamon Lane, and I was approaching Mrs. Olson's son, who was walking the Rottweiler on lead and doing a wonderful job. And Rachel, you should be proud of that young guy. He was really trying to keep a hold of this dog, Dakota. He paused as if and I've taken my dogs to training courses. So he stopped to put Dakota in a position that that was far away from us, and tried to shield us from the dog. But regrettably, Dakota far overpowered this young man, and within seconds, we were in the middle of the street, and Dakota had bitten our dog, which is Greyhound, a 6-year-old Greyhound, in the hindquarters as well as its paw, drawing some blood. I of course was yelling and whatnot, and we separated the dogs and we went on our way. These weren't horrific; they were puncture wounds. We just closed them with some pressure, put some antibiotic ointment on, and that was it. I immediately drove down to Mrs. Olson's house because I was concerned about her son. I just thought, God, that was really startling for both of us, and I want to make sure he was okay. And of course, I let her know that this just occurred. And like was described earlier, we have a great neighborhood. We want to communicate with one another. She was wonderful. I think she was completely shocked that this occurred. Certainly I was. She offered, "Is there anything I could do to take care of this thing?" And I said, no, it's okay. So the only reason I reported it, as was stated, was because, of course, the community, we want to keep up on something like these occurrences when they start to aggregate up. One case unto itself is all by itself, but we just want to make sure everyone's safe. So, I think that the Olsons really tried to contain Dakota on lead, but it's a very, very strong dog. And at least in the case of the young man, it was difficult for him to restrain him. So that was that. So that's the nature of my case. No further complaints.
Thank you. Anything from the commission?
Yeah, did you, with the injuries that your dog sustained, did you seek veterinary care for those?
We just called Greater Annapolis Veterinary Hospital, GAVH, where we go, and they just put antibiotics on it, and that was that. We have all of our rabies shots, all of our shots, so we didn't feel like there was a concern. And with direct pressure, this thing was, closed up pretty quickly. Obviously, my wife is a lot smaller than I am, and she gets concerned because we have our Greyhound is about 68 pounds, but she's very strong. And in a circumstance like that, her fear in the future would be that if it was to occur again, that she would be pulled off lead. But then again, that's hearsay, and it's future forecasting. Who the heck knows if that's going to happen? I had no problem holding back the dog. I think my wife had concern about her ability to do so.
And Miss Olson's son that was walking the dog at the time, did the dog ever get off lead, or he just couldn't hold the dog back?
Wow, that's a good question. I think it happened so fast. I don't know that he actually dropped the lead. He may have, but I think it was he was pulled right into the center of the street where the other side of the street where we were. So all I know is it was just a scrum of two dogs trying to and I was just trying to pull them apart. And before you knew it, it was over, and I started to run down the other end of the street. So I can't say for sure whether he dropped lead or not, but it was fast.
Okay.
Jackie, go ahead.
How old is the boy?
He's 12.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Good question.
And he's been involved in the training sessions with us, which is why we felt at the time because the invisible fence wasn't working, that and he goes with me on a walk all the time, and it was right out front of our house, not negating anything, of course, rushing, trying to get out the door. I forget if it was in the morning or afternoon, but one way or another, asking him, hey, just walk her real quick to go to the bathroom. Mr. O'Malley's Greyhound is a nice dog, but I know they've been working hard on training her, as he said too, her, him, and both of those dogs have been reactive to each other before when I have been walking. So I typically, when I see the Greyhound, I walk the other way, and I, tell my son to do the same. But I think he tried to do that, and it was just the crossing. Regardless, he's obviously really bad way of finding out, but lessons learned. He's absolutely not capable of walking her, as we've seen in these few cases. Although the invisible fences has never really been a solution for us. We've tried and tried and tried due to the investment that we've made there. But at the end of the day, it didn't work, right? And she is a reactive dog, and we're very aware of that, and it's progressed. So we are just using every form we can to keep her in the house. Only my husband and I walk her, doing a lot of training with her as we see dogs to continually make her comfortable and not be so reactive. I mean, she goes to the dog park, she has tons of dog friends, she's not fighting with them, but I think it's this on leash or this fence thing with her, that it's I don't know if it's some type of game in her head or what it is, but it's really unfortunate that this happened. My son came running home after it. He was crying. I know Mr. O'Malley, exchanged words and kind of cursed him out, to say the least. I would have probably done the same in that situation, just because it was an uncontrollable situation. My son was very upset. But he said that the dog charged at him, and Dakota kind of defended back, and I wasn't there. So this is just what my 12-year-old son told me, right? Mr. O'Malley came to the door. He then told me the story, and I said, oh my God, is the dog okay? What happened? And he said, yes, it's okay. My son said that no biting ever happened, but Mr. O'Malley showed me on his camera phone after I asked him to show me, and it was, I think it's a white Greyhound, or the leg is, so you were able to see where the little blood mark was. It was not minimizing at all that there was contact made, but there was that. So I was like, oh my gosh, this has not happened before. This is our last straw. This will never happen again, right? And at that point he said, I'm not gonna, go file anything, but you need to get your dog under control. And I was like, absolutely noted. This is a problem. I think at that point he probably talked to the HOA, and then now we're here. So that was my interpretation of the incident. How we're resolving the conflict is my son is absolutely not walking her anymore. She does not go out in the invisible fence. It's only myself or my husband, and we are continually enabling the training to continually, I guess, just familiarize her and try to make it so that she's not reactive to these other dogs.
Okay. Any questions from the commission of either party? Okay, hearing none.
Real quick, Ms. Olson, did your dog have any injuries?
She's black and very big. No, she came back wagging her tail and was totally fine. So no, I do not believe so.
Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah, and before we close, I'd just like to say that before we close for deliberation, I'd just like to say I know that all parties are not aware of all of the rules and regulations of Anne Arundel County and stuff like that. And when you get the citations, that's kind of when you learn of the different things that are against the rules, let's say, for a better term. But as an educational point, Ms. Olson, I would like you to Google reckless animal owner law in Anne Arundel County. It's called the reckless animal. I'm not saying that you are. It does not apply here, but it is a rule that you may want to take a look at in the future. It's relatively new. I think it came came into being last year. But I just want to send that out there to you as a little educational part of the law that is out there for these repetitive cases. I mean, we had one November 20th, then I'm sorry, November 18th, and then November 20th, and then December 28th. So with that, anything else from the commission at all, or anybody want to say anything in closing? We're going to close for deliberations, and I think that's this is the last case of the trilogy here. Okay, let's close for deliberations then. And we'll go the other way with we'll start with Tom.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like, you know, that there was obviously injury here. You know, it sounds like Miss Olson somewhat questioned how it all potentially could have gone down based on a 12-year-old's recounting of it. But I think in general, you know, I vote to uphold. I mean, I look at this now in whole, looking at 3 cases, and you know, I don't know when animal control becomes aware of any of this or how it goes. It does surprise me that this is not maybe a potentially dangerous order. I mean, things like the child not being able to walk the dog off, you know, on a leash, and secondary barriers, and all the things are in that order that could keep this from happening, especially the incident on the 28th. I mean, if things were put out there, you know, reasonably quickly after the 7th or the 18th, if notice was made, and an order was placed, and there was no I mean, I guess, you know, if the order's placed, even if there is, you know, they want to come to us and try to get it lifted, that's still in place. So that is kind of, it's confusing to me as to why. I mean, I guess it would all depend on when they were made aware, but you know, so otherwise I vote to uphold, and you know, obviously Ms. Olson, she's very aware that her animal, you know, has this potential, and hopefully is taking it upon herself to do all this. And I mean, I think she seems to be taking it seriously, but all that said, I think we should still uphold completely all this.
Thank you, Tom. Dr. Hammer?
Yeah, I agree. I agree with Tom. Miss Olson is coming across as a responsible pet owner to me, and she recognizes the potential severity of the situation that's going on here, and I believe she's, you know, doing what she can to try and get matters in hand. But with that said, I do have to agree with Tom. I think we probably need to uphold this this citation.
Okay, and this one is citation 690.
Correct.
I know there was one for 50, another for 50, and one for 100. So I don't know. I believe 676 was 50, 690 was 50, and 686 was 100. So with that, Jackie?
Yes, I agree with everyone, but I also think that Ms. Olson should, I understand they're looking at possibly moving, which is why they haven't invested in a fence. I think they should invest at least in a kennel that they could use, so they could put their dog outside for a while, and even the kids could play in there with them. Something that can help prevent this happening again.
I agree, but okay, Nicole?
I think it's important to note that despite the fact that the agenda says that this citation is for kills or inflicts injury to a domesticated animal, this is in fact for while at large chases or approaches a lawfully restrained domestic animal in an aggressive manner. I think the inflicts injury is probably more appropriate, but despite that fact, I vote to uphold the citation.
Thank you, Nicole. Jennifer?
I agree that we have to uphold the citation. I think this case is different from the others because in listening, if you put this in the order that I think it happened, these cases, this case happened first, but the dog was on leash, and it was, the lesson here was that the son can't walk the dog. So I don't, when the next case happened where the dog was able to get out of the yard on its own, to me, that's not like she should have known better by this time, because they're two totally different instances. I think that the second case was her first realization that the electronic fence wasn't working. So, I understand. I guess the reason I'm saying this is because it bothers me that, that the suggestion of it being, a potentially, the potential for a PDO. I guess I wasn't seeing that initially. I saw these as different incidences that that Ms. Olson has addressed appropriately. But anyway, I agree that we need to uphold the citation. I would point out though, Ed, when you were naming the fines, we did vote to waive the fine, on the running at large.
Right.
So I don't know that I would be inclined to reduce the fine on either of the public safety threats.
Good enough. Corporal Wild?
Uphold it and keep the fine.
Okay, do we have a motion here?
I make a
I
motion
have-
to uphold the, go ahead.
Sorry, I have another suggestion for Mrs. Olson.
Well,
To set up a
Jackie?
runner of some sort that they could use for the dog.
yeah, it's good suggestions and everything. Unfortunately, we have no power here other than the citations.
Right, but friendly reminder for her to
Yeah.
help her look at other options while they decide whether to move or not.
Yeah. Yeah, there was a lot of questions here about what could be done, anything. But I think I heard a motion getting ready to be made. Nicole?
Yes, I make a motion to uphold the citation and fine.
I'll second.
I'll second. Okay. Okay. Motion made, seconded, and all in favor? Once again, unanimous. Okay, I believe we have another case.
Okay, the next case that we are going to be calling is Dante DiManci versus Jimmy Sweat. All parties who have an interest in this case, please utilize the raise hand function so I can promote you to panelist. Once promoted, please refrain from speaking until I have everyone for the case promoted.
Are we skipping the Longnecker case? Which was next on the agenda?
It's not next on the agenda that I'm looking at.
Now this will be the last one on the agenda.
Longnecker will be the last one on the agenda.
Right.
Oh, mine has Longnecker before. Okay.
Okay, and I'm going to ask both parties if you can go ahead and unmute and turn on your video. Is there anyone else that either of you anticipates testifying today?
No, ma'am.
Is my video on?
If that's James, not yet. I'm going to see if I can. There it is. Okay. So I'm going to ask that you both please raise your right hand. And keep those up. Do you declare and affirm under penalties of perjury the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
I do.
Okay. Mr. DiManci, if you can please go first with stating your name and address for the record, and then we'll move on to Mr. Sweat.
Okay, hello everyone. My name is Dante DiManci. My address is 3106 Daughter Way. That's Odenton, Maryland, 21113.
Thank you. And Mr. Sweat?
My name is James Sweet, and I'm at 3325 Milkweed Court, Odenton, Maryland 21113.
Thank you, and sorry about mispronouncing both of
This
your last
happens all the
names.
time.
And Chairman Evans, I'm going to turn things over to you.
Okay. Mr. DeMonch, you are the complainant in the case, so you get to state your case first. Tell us what happened.
All right. So on January 7th, around 7 a.m., near Milkweed Court, I was walking my dogs per usual. We walk them about 2-3 times a day. And unfortunately, we came across a situation where I'm not sure what type of dog it was, but it's a white, large, fluffy dog that came charging at us in an aggressive manner, was running at large. And I'm going to be honest, I wasn't sure if it was, slightly off of their property because the houses are kind of close together. But thankfully, I was able to yell, scream, kick, and get the dog to stop. And that's when Mr. Sweet came from around behind his house, where I guess I should note they don't have a fence, which I was surprised by. They have a dog of that size. But yeah, he came around, and Mr. Sweet, I apologize. I did curse you out. I was a little irritated. My dogs are very reactive. One of our Dalmatians, she got attacked at a park before, so she's extremely reactive. And from there, that was about it.
Okay. Just to make sure, Mr. DeMonch, did you claim that I heard a little something? You're not sure whether the dog was on its property or not?
So I should note, we live in a community where the houses are extremely close together. I couldn't tell whether, it was on his neighbor's yard, the dog, or, on the side of his property. I did provide a picture just to show how close the houses are together. So without looking at a plot, which I couldn't find his plot, I wouldn't know, whether the dog was on the neighbor's property or his property because of how close the houses are together.
Okay.
So were you in the street or were you on a sidewalk? And did the animal come onto the sidewalk at all or anything like that?
Good question, sir. So my dogs and I, we were walking on the sidewalk, and we came across Mr. Sweet's dog that ran from behind the house towards the front of his house.
Gotcha. Thank you.
And I should note one thing I did miss is within the neighborhood, seems like it's becoming an epidemic because we have had a lot of instances where dogs have either been getting loose or running at large. And, fortunately, I may have to walk with either pepper spray or something else from now on. But, you're supposed to have a fence or keep your dog on a leash within the community if, you have a dog. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions from the commission? Okay, hearing none, Mr. Sweet, you may respond.
Yes, on the morning question, I did go out my back. I have a porch out back with stairs that go down into the yard. Go out in the morning. I'm standing out on the porch. I provided some pictures as well, but my dog went to the corner of the house to go to do his business in our yard. I guess that's when he saw Mr. DeMonch walking his dogs. My dog started barking and started to run towards the front of the house. I immediately ran to the corner. Then I heard a whole bunch of commotion. Immediately ran to the corner, and we're only talking about maybe 40 feet. So even just walking to the corner, it takes me 7 seconds. So I was there. I know things can happen fast, but I was there within, we'll say, the 7 seconds. I just leisurely took a walk to the corner, and my dog had already returned, was already back in the backyard by the time I returned to the back corner of the house there. Mr. DeMont was, like he admitted, was screaming and cussing at me. I tried to remain calm. I apologized. I know it spooked his dogs. I asked him to please stop cursing at me. He continued to, and then he followed up with a threat to, I will kill your effing dog. At first, I was a little shocked, and I'm mentioning this for a reason, because it points to some other evidence that I submitted. It kind of shocked me at first, and I was like, "What did you say?" And he said it again. He doubled down. At that point, I started to approach the front of the house, telling him that he needs to leave. And then he didn't just double down; he tripled down and said it again. And I provided a video from my neighbor's Ring camera. The and this is the only thing that they have for the day. And then you can see once it starts, you see me by my driveway with my dog in the driveway as I'm yelling back at him. At this point, I feel threatened. But the point that I'm trying to make is, when my dog ran from the back of the house, started barking. He's big. He's a Labradoodle. And we didn't know he was mixed with a full-size poodle, so he's really tall. But he's also very scared. So as soon as the other dog started barking is when he returned. From the evidence that I'm trying to present, the Ring camera footage, he never went past the halfway point of my house. And that's evident because the Ring footage does not start until and as he mentioned, the houses are very close together. So once I start approaching the front of the house, it picks up my motion and the Ring camera starts. If my dog had gone past that part of the house, past my neighbor's front porch, he would have triggered that Ring camera. As he mentioned, it's a big dog. It's going to trigger that Ring camera, and it did not start until I got past that point of the house. So my case is that I did have my dog off leash in my yard, and he remained in my yard the entire time.
Okay. Thank you.
Do we have the video? Because in the file, what I'm seeing is a PDF that says Ring camera, but when I open it up, it's just a picture.
I sent it's a link. It's a link directly to the neighbor's saved footage.
I've just emailed Corporal Fowler and Autumn to see if either of them have the link.
Robin, if you look under sweet evidence, it should say sweetringcamera.png. It should be the video. I can resend it though if need be.
Now I see it on the screen, but in what's in our folder online, when you open it up, it's literally just a picture of the Ring camera logo.
Yeah, I found it in an email, is where I found the link. So I am going to hit play. Hang on, I want to make sure that sound is going to share. Please share sound. Just in case there is any.
Can I make a comment about this video?
Yeah, go ahead, Tom.
So, while I appreciate, I mean, it does seem to make sense that if the dog did cross in front of the video, that a video would start to play. But I don't know exactly how those ring cameras work. I don't know if the height of the dog could have maybe not triggered it. But I think either way, I mean, maybe I'm getting ahead of myself here. But I think either way, kind of both parties are admitting, well, at least the Mr. DeMonch has admitted that he's not exactly sure the dog came off the property anyway. But you know, as far as technically how these cameras work, I don't know that if the animal ran quickly, if there's a speed, to it, if the dog ran past it initially, could maybe not have triggered it. I mean, there's technically, I don't know that what he's saying is 100% true is kind of my point. I agree that as soon as you see him come across, the camera starts running, and then the dog comes out after the fact. But if the dog had crossed more than halfway past the point, ran out, ran back, I don't know. Does anybody know anything about those ring cameras and how that works?
If it's you set up, I have actually a couple rings both here and at my business location, and you set the motion detection, and you set a range. Like you, gosh, there's no way for me to point it out on the screen, but like I can actually set a block
Right.
of where I want it to pick up the motion.
Mhm.
So yes, a dog that size walking, that dog would have set off the motion.
Okay.
If the petitioner, if the defendant was large enough to set it off there, a dog that size would have set it off. My cat might not have, but that dog, I would have set it off because clearly that's where the motion block is set to pick up.
I got you. I mean, I use trail cameras for deer and things like that, and I just find that they're not super reliable. That's why that's kind of what I was questioning, that portion of it. Sometimes you'll see 2 or 3 deer run by before the camera's actually triggered. So that's why, even an animal that size, that's why I was asking. But yes, Robin, I see your
I
hands
was
up.
gonna say, I have cameras at my house, and I know that we, as Commissioner Member Branzo was saying, you can set essentially how sensitive it is. Like, so we have some of our cameras might be set so sensitive that they would notice a bug, and some of our cameras are not set so sensitive. But I just, in watching the video, I also noted that Mr. Sweet walks out prior to the dog when the video comes on. So it may not be evidence that the dog sets it off because of a human being. So if it is a height or a size restriction that sets it off, when this video comes on, what you first see is Mr. Sweet.
Yeah, well, that's kind of what I understand. I mean, my point is that, in the way this is described, the dog had run out and then come back, and maybe it never did come out past the house. I don't know. I mean, Mr. DeMonch describes it as coming further than that, but that's neither here nor there. I guess my question was, as far as opening up the door to this type of evidence moving forward, it's a good point. I mean, it's a very good thing to say when this camera's triggered. It's a very good point to point out. And I agree. I mean, I would have brought the evidence myself, Mr. Sweet. Same thing. I just want to make sure that it's understood. That,
Mr. DeMonch has his hand up.
Yeah, I'm fine. I'm good. I just wanted to make the comment.
Okay.
Thank you, sir. I did want to make a point that there was a blind spot. The picture that I posted between the houses, Mr. Sweet or the camera wouldn't have caught whether the dog crossed the property line in between the houses. And which is another reason why, I mean, like we shouldn't be having this conversation, but if there was a fence, we wouldn't have this issue. But who's to say the dog didn't cross the property line in between the houses? It's a huge blind spot, so cameras would not have caught that part. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Okay.
Is this the picture that you're referencing, Mr. DeMonch?
I think what he's saying is, are you pointing out the fact that just like the camera can't see in between the houses, and if the dog was up closer to the neighbor's house, then he would have been off his property? Is kind of, I think, what he's trying to say.
Yeah.
Correct. Yes, sir. Thank you.
Let me raise my hand. Where's the hand? Do you see the
Okay,
hand?
Mr.
thing?
Sweet, did you have something to say?
Yes, just want to point out that that's a picture of the back of my house from a distance. So it's to the left part of that area there. Yeah, so that's my house, the farthest one away. That's where the dog was, where the cursor is. That's where he was in our yard. And I know he mentioned the blind spot and the narrowness of the front there. But again, that's to the point that I'm trying to make is if there's a blind spot, if their camera doesn't go all the way to the edge of my house, it the dog did not leave my yard, even in a narrow spot there. He will bark at even in the house at everything that walks by. The moment anything barks back, he runs. I tell my kids that he's an alert dog. He is not a watchdog. He will let you know that something's there before he leaves you to your own vices. So I think I don't know if he saw the dogs or just Mr. DeMonch walking his dogs when he started barking. But as soon as they started barking back, he was right back in the backyard, having never left the front yard. And then, of course, just stayed behind me the entire time as I approached the front.
Any commissioners have any questions of the parties? Parties have any questions one to the other? Hearing none, I guess we will close for deliberations then. Okay, we have a situation here where, well, we do have an off-leash animal, but we don't know it was off his property or not, which may pose an issue. So we'll begin with, let's see, make sure I got everybody on camera here. Corporal Wah?
I don't see, I never heard that the dog came onto the sidewalk or anything like that. I have no idea where that dog was and I have no idea where the property line is, so I can't hold it unless we have video evidence or some sort of evidence of that dog, or even if testifying that the dog came off of the property onto the sidewalk, into the street, something like that. Even trying to watch that one camera angle, Mr. DeMonch was way off if you're looking at the house, to the right of the house before he even came into that field of view. So it's kind of hard to say, okay, was the dog off property or not? So I don't believe that we can uphold this.
Thank you. Jennifer?
I agree with Corporal Wally. Both sides admitted neither one knows if the dog was actually off the property. So there's no evidence here. I don't see how we could uphold it.
Nicole?
I agree without testimony or evidence to state that the dog was truly off property. I vote to dismiss.
Jackie?
I agree. There's just not any evidence to firmly say the dog was at large.
Dr. Hammer?
I concur with the rest of the commissioners for all the reasons stated.
And Tom?
Yep, I agree with everybody. I will point out again, Mr. Sweat, I mean, if you're having an animal with no fence and no any form of restraint, it could get worse. You know, the reality exists that it could very quickly get worse. So just keep that in mind. But otherwise, I would vote to, drop the citation just like everyone else.
That's true. Yeah, there is an exception if the animal is protecting its own property or on its own property, and we have no way to tell in this particular situation if it was or it was not. Thank God we didn't have an incident where they, no attacks or anything. So I agree with Tom's comments on that. Do we have a motion?
Motion to dismiss.
Second.
Second.
Motion made, seconded, all in favor? Unanimous again. Wow. We're rolling right along, guys. All right, Robin, I think we have one more, right?
Yes, we do have one more. The last case that we'll be hearing today would be Pam Longnecker versus George Gallagher. Any parties that have an interest in this case who wish to testify could please utilize the raise hand function so that I can promote you. And again, I just want to remind everyone to please refrain from speaking until I have everyone for the case promoted. Looks like I have multiple people here, so I do want to make sure everyone can turn on their videos. When you do, if you could all please raise your right hand and keep it raised for me. Oh, sorry. I think there was somebody that had two people that wanted to speak. Is that right? Miss Longnecker, are there going to be two of you speaking or just one? Two? Okay. Can we see if we can get Bill on the camera as well? Yeah.
I am on camera. I am.
Oh, okay. All right. So we have you. Oh, there's Mr. Gallagher. Okay. All right. Do you declare and affirm under the penalties of perjury the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
First, start with Mrs. Longnecker.
I'm sorry. Wait, before we get started, are the husband and wife in the same room?
Oh, hang on.
I was hearing some feedback is why I'm asking. Somebody seems to be close enough to the other person that I was having trouble hearing when they spoke.
Yeah, they're both muted at this point. So we didn't hear what you said, Mr. Longnecker, because you're muted. If you can unmute yourself.
Yeah, I'm unmuted.
And,
I was
Miss
hearing the
Longnecker, if you can unmute yourself, we can see if there's any feedback between the two that would disturb things. So, Pam Longnecker, if you would unmute yourself.
Just unmuted.
And speak.
Hello.
Okay, we're just trying to, is that okay, Jennifer?
Yeah, but now her picture's frozen.
Yeah, she's frozen now, so.
Do you want Bill and me to use the same machine? Would that be helpful?
It would actually probably be easier and it would.
Okay.
It would
So I'm
probably
gonna-
be better,
I'm gonna
yeah.
mute this and then go over to his side. Be right back.
We're gonna try that swearing in one more time. So if Mr. Longnecker, if you can come over and we can try and get both.
We're gonna have to do that.
Here. All right. You all could raise your right hands again for me. Do you declare under penalties of perjury the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
I do.
Okay. And then Miss Longnecker, if you want to go ahead with your name and address.
My name is Pam Longenecker, 1211A Marta Lane, Annapolis, Maryland, 21403.
And Mr. Longnecker?
Name is William Longenecker. My address is 1211A Marta Lane, Annapolis, Maryland, 21403.
And Mr. Gallagher?
George Gallagher, 1212 Barbud Lane, Annapolis, Maryland, 21403. Also, my wife's trying to get into this Zoom meeting, but she seems to be unable to.
Okay, so she can't get in at all, huh? Is her name by chance Edeline?
Edeline, correct.
All right, let me promote her on up. Hopefully, come on. There she is, Miss Adeline. If you can try and turn on your video for us and then raise your right hand and unmute yourself. We're going to get you sworn in.
It's not my video. Yes.
There we go. Okay, if you could please raise your right hand for us. Do you declare and affirm under penalties of perjury the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Okay, if you could please state your name and address for the record.
My name is Edeline Barros. I live in 1212 Barbard Lane, Annapolis, Maryland.
Thank
Code
you.
21403.
Thank you. Chairman Evans, I'm turning things over to you.
Okie doke. What I'm looking at says Pam Longnecker is the complainant. So I imagine your husband would be co-complainant, but you may go first. Tell us your story.
Thank you. This has been a years-long at-large issue with their two cats. I have it actually visually documented in October 2020. My concern is for any animal that I see outside when it's below freezing, all hours, and I'm talking 1, 2 in the morning, snowing, ice outside, 32 degrees. And then as well as, seeing animals in those situations, I also do TNR, and their animals have interfered with TNR because they've entered my trap. My traps are placed on my property, whether it be the side yard or the backyard, and the backyard is in an enclosed 6-foot privacy fence, so the cats have to up and over, which we know is easy for cats because they can jump 5 feet up and then climb. These cats also have to come from Barbud across not quite an acre of my other neighbor's property to get to my yard. I've left a message for George on his cell phone, which was ignored, and I know I'm backstorying it. I sent an email in December 2022. It was ignored. Bill called. George acknowledged that he got the email and he chose not to respond to it. His wife came on the 27th of December and started bip, 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 where we had a big, long conversation. And I followed that up with another email to George on the 28th, basically asking, keep your animals contained. I understand cats like to have their space, and I don't begrudge them that. Build them a catio, build them a tent system. I sent him links to DIY and maybe even to Amazon where you can buy these things. I don't recall, but definitely provided solutions to the situation. I also told him, in case he didn't know, or both of them, in case they didn't know, that there are feline specific diseases out there. I know of 4 or 5 situations of feline immune deficiency virus in this neighborhood. Are they spreading it? I don't know. Some cats are lucky, some cats are not. I did fill out an affidavit in January of 2023 for both of their cats. They look very much alike. But anyway, the affidavit was filled out. I provided pictures And I did the same again this year in January of 2024. Basically, more information with the previous affidavits information to include copies of the emails I sent to George and, you know, basic discussions of what had, summaries and discussions of what had passed. I'm trying to think what else. Yeah, I just want them to keep their cats on their property and to keep them safe and be responsible. That's the bottom line, or any of their animals for that matter. Is that?
A question for Robin. I can't find any of the evidence Ms. Longenecker's referring to in the shared drive. Can you help me, please? Or any of the commission members?
It's under Longnecker versus Gallagher case file.
I'm just gonna share screen. Hopefully, are you seeing the right things? Okay, so.
Supporting documents. Yeah.
That's my backyard. That's a list of when I was just manually making note when the animals were showing up, and then I'm like, I'm done making the list. Yeah.
Ms. Longnecker, I don't know if you want to summarize what this.
I know it's a lot. This one happens to be a post Edeline showing up in our driveway on the 27th of December. And some of the takeaways from the conversation, basically she was not interested that her cats roam, and that they have, I guess, a door and they can come and go as they please. She didn't have any concern that they were constantly on our property. Somebody had said something about a mistaken identity, but she confirmed with Bill the identity of the two cats, as well as pictures of the cats on my phone. She told me, and this is winter time, if I didn't like seeing the cats on my property, to just spray them with water, which I would never do, never mind in the middle of winter. And she didn't think it was her responsibility to monitor where her animals are. Didn't seem concerned that they're interfering with my TNR efforts, because, you know, and admitted there are a lot of cats in this area, and they are. We think we get it under control, and then it explodes again. What else? I don't know. But wait, there's more. Yeah, and she said basically it was our responsibility to deal with her cats. And even though, you know, and here's where I share, this is what you can do. This is how it can be better. And in the previous one, I also, and that was the 1st of December. Yeah. And so in my yard, that's the side yard, that's the gate to our backyard where you see the cat is not in a crate, in a trap, looking at us. And then this is like a repeat, but this is her cat critter alley is what we call it, because that's where we see a lot of cats. But it's our yard, our property, and he's snooping around the trap. And then below, he's in the backyard, and you can see through my window, it's not freezing, but it's 35 degrees. And whether the real feel is actually less than that, it looks like those are little snowflakes under the clouds. So maybe there was a prediction for snow. Don't remember, obviously, but it's just like ongoing. And there are enough cats roaming around that Bill and I are trying to sort out, home, you know, vet, make sure they're not procreating, that to have her cats just roaming around, and also I've seen one of their cats literally walk across Marta Lane, to which I also have pictures because it's kind of funny, caught on our Ring camera. in our driveway behind our vehicles, and then he's off across into the neighbor's yard across the street. Excuse me, can you close that, Bill? So, and I do have pictures again, since this recent affidavit was sent in of her cats in our space. And I just want them to be responsible pet guardians and do what's right, and do what's right by the animals, do what's right by her neighbors or their neighbors, whether cats, chickens, whatever. And it's not that I have it out for her cats. I care for all animals. Like literally her chickens were in my yard or side yard, and the neighbor's dog went chasing after them. I chased off the neighbor's dog, and that neighbor didn't care. So filled out an affidavit, and that cured that problem. But I just want respect for the animals and respect for my property.
Okay. Does Mr. Longnecker have any thing additional to add, or?
Yeah, well, I really don't have a lot more to add, but and I think Pam at the end there, though she's mentioned it multiple times, this is pretty simple. If you know your cats are wandering around the neighborhood, then do something to stop it. I don't know how you can be more, how we can sum it up any better than that. And if they continue to show, but they continue showing up in our yards, despite them, us telling them, that's a pretty clear indication that they simply don't respect what we're asking them to do, which fundamentally is actually just adhere to the codes of the county. That's all I got.
Thank you. Any questions from the commission?
Yes, Ms. Longnecker, what was the
Well, hold up, Nicole. I don't think.
Sorry.
I think Nicole has a question for Ms. Longnecker.
Yes.
Yes, either of you. What was the outcome of the first affidavit reference from 11023?
Nothing. I don't remember the gentleman that was in the position at the time. I was communicating with him often, and he's like, what I recall him saying is, we can't reach them, we can't present it. It's going to go to some other source who is going to present it to them, meaning the Gallaghers. And I never heard anything else. And so a year went by, and I'm like, it's still happening. I'm going to file another affidavit. And that's just what I did.
Mr. and Mrs. Longnecker, can you just so I'm clear, you guys are doing TNR on your property?
Yes.
That's correct.
What does that look like? Is it multiple traps, cages? Is it
No,
one cage?
it's one cage.
Okay.
Yeah, one. Because every now and again, like I said, we have it, oh yeah, it's under control, and then somebody new shows up. And so we try to trap to determine if it belongs to somebody, if it's already sterilized, or if it's feral, or if it needs help, we get it help. But yeah, his cats literally end up in my traps. And then because I'm trying to trap a specific animal, it's like, get out of here, you guys. And I reset the trap.
Okay, thank you.
It's a fail.
Okay. Having heard from the complainant, I believe it's time now we hear from the defendant, Mr. Gallagher.
Yes. So the first time I was contacted by the Longneckers was a surprise. I was in the Safeway on a Saturday with my son. I received a phone call from a number I didn't recognize, but normally I don't answer. I answered. It was William or Bill that was calling me. I was very surprised that he had my phone number. I was very surprised that I received emails from Pam because my email and phone number are not public, which startled me. So I had the conversation with Bill while I was grocery shopping, and that was I think December of 2022. And I said, well, it may be our cat. It may not be our cat's. I was just, he was pretty friendly. And I was just trying to understand, because this phone call took me by surprise. I said, you're aware that there's like 3 or 4 other cats that are actually brothers of or sisters of these cats, because our in-laws actually live behind us. Stepson lives behind us, and the grandparents lives behind us. And these 2 cats were, when we received them, had been living in almost a farm setting and had grown up their first few months outdoors. So making them permanently indoor cats has been a challenge. So I had the conversation with him, and I did say that, yes, I received the email from her, but because I hadn't presented my email publicly to anybody, I was quite startled by this long, very long email. And then, so I went back to my wife and said, hey, this is going on. And then she said, well, I'm going to go over and talk to them. Apparently that conversation didn't go very well. And I guess because I have the email in front of me, she described my wife trying to communicate with her as blah, 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 blah. So I don't know the content of that. She can speak to that after I'm done. So then after that, I was reviewing the items that she had asked to do. And she said, bottom line is your cats need to be locked in the house at night, and they shouldn't be roaming around in inclement weather. And I said, okay, let me see, what can I do to control that? I was just thinking, but I didn't want to respond to her because I was trying to formulate a way to approach this. So I was looking at doing a DIY to seal the doggy doors. So we actually sealed the doggy doors at night, but I didn't realize the cats could actually pop them off. So I actually, I spent another week trying to come up with a plan, and I actually created latches, and we bolted them down. And we started the process of making sure that in the evening, we always called them in and fed them. But during that time, I received a voicemail from Mrs. Longnecker that was a threatening voicemail. And at that point, she said, you're not responding to my emails, you're not responding. And I was, what? I just talked to your husband. And after the voicemail, you'll see what happens. I was like, whoa, okay, that's not very cool. And the tone was like from Fatal Attraction. It was, but unfortunately, it's gone now because it's been over a year. So I actually was researching in January of 2023, like, can I seek filing harassment charges against Miss Longnecker? So, but I decided to go ahead and pay the fine. So there was a resolution to this first incident. I paid the fine, and I retrofitted some, apparatus on the doggy door. And we, at like 7, 8 o'clock at night, called the cats in every night, had them sleeping on our couch, and we thought the issue was resolved. Hadn't heard anything back from her for over a year. Then in the end of January, we received this. And there's a little backstory. So about 3 weeks prior to receiving this, we had something very odd happen. Our cat Husky came home pretty beat up. We were kind of shocked. We were like, that doesn't look like a cat being in a fight with a squirrel or another cat or anything in our backyard. There was a patch on the back of our cat. Hair was missing, and there was blood coming down the leg, front leg of our cat. And it was the same date that Miss Longnecker, and I don't know if she injured the cat by trapping it or the cat was injured by trapping, but something went wrong that day. And our cat was freaked out, went up to our oldest daughter's bedroom door and curled up in a ball and pretty much stayed there for days. So there's another thing that's going on is that there are multiple squirrel houses in trees right on her property line. But what's weird is they're in the trees of the neighbor. So actually yesterday we went and talked to the neighbor and said, are those your squirrel houses? Did you install those 4 squirrel houses that are right on her property line? And they said, no, we probably should just go and take them down. Not only are these squirrel houses, which attracts cats or any other predator.
All right, well, real quick, Mr. Gallagher, we got to bring it back in. We're here about cats, not squirrel houses, okay? So
No, I
bring it back in.
understand. But here's my point. I have a point, Corporal, is that there's a bird feeder built right into her fence that cats could go through. There's also these squirrel things. What I'm saying is that Miss Longnecker is enticing cats to come to her house. And the only reason why I requested this hearing was because I was advised to request this hearing. I was advised to do it. How did that advice come? Well, I contacted Linda Kelly, who signed this right here, and said, hey, I understand that we're trying our best to keep the cats out of our yard, but she's doing all these activities to entice any type of small predator in your yard. Squirrel houses, bird feeders, traps, food, and so she said, well, watch these hearings. So I watched about 3 or 4 of these hearings, and I said, nah, I'm just going to pay you the fine. And then I actually drove up on Saturday, the February 10th, to talk to her. And I explained just what I'm explaining to you. And I said, I'll just pay the fine, and we'll just keep on trying to do what we can do with the cats. And she said, actually, I advise you have a hearing because I think that Miss Longnecker is becoming a public nuisance for our community with her, evangelical trapping of cats, putting all these things that entice animals to come to her yard. So that's why I requested the hearing. I think she's making it very hard for people to, not have cats go to her yard. We are doing exactly what she requested in that last email, but and after I paid the fine, was have your houses at night, locked in your house at night. We're doing that. Don't have your cats roaming during inclement weather. We're doing that too. Every night, we've put that doggy door with the clamps that I put on there. We call them in, somewhere always before 8 o'clock at night, or around 8 o'clock at night. Sometimes it's 6. This incident happens like 7 something p.m. So it was probably, and then we were wondering where one of our cats was. So we call our cats in per her request on this email, and we've been locking them down to the best of our ability. But to take basically 2 farm cats and lock them in the house as house cats is very problematic. And if we can't resolve this, I think that I told this to Linda Kelly. I said, I think we're just going to have to turn the cats over to, to be adopted somewhere else. Because what she's doing by putting all these traps and food and, squirrel things and bird feeders which cats go after, she's enticing the cats, and I feel she's a public nuisance for the community. That's just my opinion.
Okay.
Can you did you see the pictures that were shown on the screen of the cats that were on their property when Miss Catlett presented them?
Yes.
Were they your cats?
They appear to be. One of them appears to be husky.
Okay.
Now there's 3 other cats that have similar markings because they're brothers and sisters.
Right, you had mentioned that. That's why I was asking the question. You mentioned other cats from other places potentially, and it sounds like
right. So she's
all
saying
accounts
it's
she has
numerous
attracted
times.
other
I'm
animals.
not sure because there's a lot of cats with the same exact markings, and I happen to know that there are 3 cats that live next door to her that are from the exact same litter as our 2 cats because they're relatives or by marriage relatives. So we got grandparents and
But you do
So I'm
believe
not
at
sure
least
all
one of
these incidents are our cats, but
right.
you know,
But you believe
I
at least in the one picture she has there that it is your cat husky. You do believe that.
correct.
Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Gallagher, does Edeline have any further testimony for you? Your
Oh,
case?
yes.
Okay, you
Thank
may.
you. Thank you for listening to give me that opportunity. It's the first time I'm doing something like that, so I'm a little. I'm a homeschooling mom. I have a 12 years old here guy making sign in my back. So first of all, I apologize for the misunderstanding of word and way of try to communicate. So first of all, we never heard about that case until a year ago or two, or whatever. I don't recall the date she was telling me, because one day, the only very day that was snowing in Annapolis very high, I let the cat go out that day in the morning to go outside a little bit. The cat was indoor. I opened the door. I let the cat go out, and a few hours later, I was calling the cat as a crazy. Only a few hours, 4 hours later, I was calling for the cat. I never heard about the cat. We look everywhere, my kids, the neighbor. We are asking everybody. I went to SPCA. I called the animal control. You're looking, and the cat never appeared. I say, well, there's nothing else I can do. And people say, this cat should be around. And then I start to knock people door, except for her door. I didn't know that. So I was asking my neighbors in front, and a neighbor here, a neighbor there, everywhere. And then the cat totally disappeared. And I say, well, I look for the cat a few hours later, and it's not there. I say, the cat go for do all things and come back. 2 weeks later, from nowhere, this cat appeared. And I was, wow, this cat was trapped somewhere. I say, wow, I have no idea. So the cat back to his normal life. Everything was great. Years passed by. That was 3 or 4 years ago. Years passed by. I never heard anything. And then one day I have this complaint, and I was kind of, oh, that's crazy. That's what's happened. Maybe it's that person. So, and my husband showed me I hold the message. I was scared. Say, oh, George, don't even answer. I'm gonna try to talk because I'm pretty much calm and nice person, and then I think I can handle that. I'm gonna go and talk to her. So I didn't want to knock her door like that. I was trying to have an opportunity. I was taking my dog. My dog is right there. Everybody, the family is here. I take him. And then I decide to go for a walk in the neighborhood on the other side. I'm going to show you. And then I that day, after a few days, tried to see if the husband was there or the wife. So the husband was by the door, and I knew him previously. I talked to them. They seem pretty nice people. But that day I went there. He was very nice with me, talked to me. And I was explaining to him, but he was okay. He didn't say nothing bad. The minute she come outside from her porch door, she start to losing her temper over me. She start to say, you better. I say, listen, I'm gonna explain to you. The thing you trapped my cat for 2 weeks, and the cat get used with you, and the cat skin come back because you're feeding the cat. Then others cat was disappear for the neighborhood. We have about 10 or 12 cats disappeared, and everybody was looking for cats everywhere. And then no one knew the Miss Pamela a trap cat until that thing. And then she come to the driveway and she say, I took your cat for 2 weeks. I take him to the vet. I vaccinated. The cat has all of that. The cat been his neutered cats, been vaccinated. She double vaccinate my cats. She did with other cats disappear for the neighborhood. And then I'm going to tell you, we have a mouse little problem. We have a fox problem in the house. A lot of animal was coming here. And I told her, listen, I'm okay with my cat going out during the day. He never make any problem. The thing was, you are trapped. The minute she heard me say that, that I was okay to see cats. Cat is not a dog. He's okay. She misunderstood and started to say that I was careless. I told her, I invited them to come to see the way this cat is being treated before that, even before. I explained to her, the cat is indoor. They're with me all time here, one, and the other one is by the window because I love to be around my cats. And I don't mind when they go a little out for a little while, and then they do. I'm homeschooling. I have kids in my house. One dog down here. That was for the day. For the night, we lock that one, and the cats can be here, do all his things, and that was for the night. And then I'm gonna get out now. I'm gonna show you. And then she last month the cat disappeared again, and I was looking for the cats again. The minute these cats go out, I check on my clock, and I say the cat is not home. The same day, I say the cat is not back or for the day. I say something was hard happened. The cat show up that day, totally beat up. We didn't know what was going on. We didn't know. And I was shaking. The cat get sick for 2 weeks, and then we didn't know what happened. And then I got that message. I'm in my backyard. Okay, my chicken is there. This chicken run home, but one day the kids fed the kid from here and let open, and she jumped. Look away. That's my backyard. There's fence here.
Okay, I think we lost you. Phone is froze up. We got some good pictures there. We got some good information there.
Now that's, look at the way from my house to her house. Look at how far away.
Miss Adeline.
She had trapped the cat here. She had trapped cats. And what I can do if someone is trapping cats, the whole neighborhood cats. And then sometime she was inside of her house, more than 12 cats trapped. And she's doing that, the neighborhood. We are getting tired of that. Everybody's come to me and tell me, we don't know what to do. Any cat she go into trap, she doesn't tell them. And I think it's wrong. My cat's not supposed to be there. They never go. But every time she feed the cat, the board and everything, and all go to her house. What I should do, when you give a feed to a cat one time, they're going to come back for your house. And now we have that problem because the cats go there to find for food. They don't need food, but cat is never enough. And she won't stop that. She trapped cats, and the cats go to her house. Now, my cat is indoor. Sometimes I let them go out to refresh, and they come back. This cat is 5 years old. There's no puppies.
Okay, Miss Adeline, we need to kind of wrap it up a little bit. I know you're new to this, you said, but we need to stick to
the cat.
Yeah. We gave us some really good information. I think we got the picture here.
She's become a problem for the neighborhood with the trapping cat things. We want her to stop doing that because everybody here is afraid to lose the cat. There's cat disappearing. We didn't know what's happening with this cat. People was asking, I didn't know it was her. No one knew she was doing that. She's trapped more than 12 cats or whatever, or maybe more than that. Every time people was looking for cats in the neighborhood, signs everywhere, but we didn't know it was her. We didn't know there was someone trapping cats.
Ma'am. So what we're here for today, what we're here for today is we're here to talk about your cats being at large. That's what we're here to talk about. We've gotten plenty of background. We've gotten plenty of background. We understand your position, but we're here about cats that have been at large. That is it. That is all. The neighbor dispute, how you feel about your neighbor and what they're doing, while it can be a part of this, it is not. We are here to discuss specifically the fact that your cats were off of your property. And
So,
that's all and we understand that you have a reason and your reasoning for the fact that they may have been drawn off of your property. That's all understandable. But again, all the other stuff is neither here nor there.
Tom,
I just want to be clear. I've muted her because she was trying to talk over you, Councilmember.
Tom, can you hear me?
Thank you, Robin.
Yes, sir. Mr. Gallagher, go ahead.
Gallagher,
So,
just just wrap it up kind of
I'm
sort of.
I'm gonna wrap it up very quickly. I'll be very brief. Again, the only reason why I did this is because of the advice of Linda Kelly from Animal Control at Millersville. And the other thing is that based on Ms. Longnecker's approach to dealing with the animals in our neighborhood, it's going to force us to take away 2 family cats and have them taken to animal control, because we can't fight against her constant trapping, enticing, and putting all these things that draw cats to her home. So we're actually going to have to do something very sad, because our kids like these cats, and actually turn them over for adoption to someone else. We have no other choice.
Understood. Okay, does the commission have any questions? Okay, hearing none.
Ms.
I
Longnecker
think
has, Ms. Longnecker has her hand raised.
Yes,
Ma'am, you're muted.
you're muted.
Sorry.
There you
Yes.
Just some of the assumptions or the projections that were made, that they wonder if I abused and injured their animal. Should you wish, I can give you recommendations from veterinarians, from shelter volunteers, from people who know. But I mean, I just
We're not here for that today, so you
Okay,
don't need to defend that allegation. We have no authority to deal with that allegation. We can only decide whether or not to uphold the citation for the cats being at large.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
And I try to give a little leeway, but a little too much here today with communication. We need to stick to the subject. We went all the way around Robin Hood's barn and back again, but we got the pictures. Is there anything else from the commission? I think we got it. I think everybody's on point here, but is there anything that you need to clarify before we close for deliberations?
May I just clarify that I really do care about my cats. You can see the way I've been treat the cats. I will be very sad for me, because I know that the cat needs some time go out, and then I do have kids here in the house, and then I love to have my cat stretch out outside and come back. And I feel very sorry, because once a cat is attached with someone, they come back, and then I feel bad that she did that with my cat. I trapped them for 2 weeks, and now whatever how many times she did. Now I know she said that more than one time. Of course, if you do that with the cat and you feed them, they cannot come back. I'm very sorry for that.
Ma'am, we have no authority over that issue today. The only thing we can address is whether or not your cats were off your property. This commission has no authority to deal with any other claims of the cats being trapped. There's simply nothing we can do for you here on that. All we can address is the at-large citation.
If you feel that you need to take other measures against the allegations, that would be outside of what we're doing here today. What we're doing here today is just cats at large, and that's the only thing in front of us here that we can deal with. Again, if you feel like your allegations have some weight to them, I can't decide, nor can this commission decide one way or the other on that issue today. That would be up to you guys to take that in another realm, in another facet. So with just what we have in front of us today, cats at large, Jackie, I see your hands up. Go ahead.
Thank you. I just wanted to offer to the Gallaghers that there is a lot of information online and elsewhere on how to help outside cats that are typically outside to adjust to being inside cats, from building nice little terraces for them, helping them to adjust to all the different things they need to. I've done it myself, so just wanted to give you that offering.
Okay, that was just a suggestion. Thank you. Is there any other informational questions of the specific case that we need to clarify before we close for deliberations? Okay, hearing none, we will close for deliberations on this particular issue, reminding the parties that issues outside of what we have the scope to deal with today have to be dealt with in another forum. Okay? We don't mean to be shutting anybody out. We're just, what's in front of us is all we have the authority to deal with. So having said that, we will begin with Corporal Wow.
She has photographs of the cat. The owner, Mr. Gallagher, said he believes that's his cat, so I say uphold it.
And then we go to Jackie.
Yes, definitely uphold. They're not even taking responsibility for their cats.
Nicole.
Yes, absolutely uphold.
Tom.
So yeah, I would definitely uphold the at-large. I do feel Mr. Gallagher's frustration. I do think that it is his responsibility to keep his animal on his property. I do see it, with cats, it's always a struggle anyway, and having the, potential food and stuff enticing it off the property, it's a tough situation for him to be in, but absolutely his animal's at large and we need to uphold.
Thank you. Dr. Hammer.
I agree. Yeah, the photograph is, conclusive evidence we need to uphold. There's a lot to unpack here, but as everybody has said, it's beyond the scope of what we're charged to deal with today.
Correct. Jennifer?
I vote to uphold.
And unfortunately, I have to agree as well. All we're dealing with here is a charge of animal at large. It doesn't give a exception for cats. And like Tom said, I know it's hard. Dr. Hammer said it's hard to keep cats under control. And I would hope that the complainant here today is not putting cat food in traps and luring them onto the property, but that would be something else that they would have to fight over in a different form. So, having that said, do I hear a motion?
May I
Jackie had her hand raised.
I have a comment, please. My cats have always been indoors, and they've all been strays that have been converted. The bottom line here, in my mind, is when you have an animal, you keep it under control. It is not difficult to keep cats under control if you keep them at home and in your home, and do, if you need to take more measures in building, the cat palaces and that type of thing, you do. But you can do it, and it is not difficult. Sorry, I'm just speaking from personal experience as well as professional experience.
Okay.
Bottom line, if you care about your cats, you keep them at home.
Okay, is there a motion?
I make a motion, we uphold the citation ending in 1692 in its entirety.
I'll second.
All in favor? Once again, unanimous. And I hope that the situation can be worked out.
Yes.
I really do.
So before, if you don't mind, Ed, I'm going to pop on.
Yeah, no problem, because I don't see any minutes in my binder here. Were there any, or did we take care of that because of that meeting?
Let me just pull up. But before we get to the minutes, I have emailed out to all the commission members. Chairman Evans was sent by Councilwoman Ledbetter, Bill 124 in its current proposed form, and a few amendments that she was hoping to get the Animal Matters Commission's opinions on before this evening's meeting. So unfortunately, this means we'll have to do another do the minutes for today while we're on it, but I've been trying to stay on them while we're going. So I'm hoping that'll be pretty easy and not take forever. And I'm just going to peek at February's minutes.
If I may, Robin, I think one of them is a repeat.
One of them is two different versions. So we'll get there. There's two slightly different versions because she's not, my understanding is because she's not sure which way she would want to go, but wants to hear the commission's thoughts to see which way you all would find preferable. And let me just see. I do not see that we reviewed the meeting minutes last time during the meeting. Has everyone gotten those? Do I need to reshare those?
Didn't we come
You had
back
sent
and
out, if I
review?
remember correctly.
Yeah, I sent
we had
out
already
drafts
made.
of it. I sent out drafts
Yeah.
of it. We just haven't voted on them. So I can do a share screen if that works for everybody. If we want to get those meeting minutes done first, that is certainly fine. So hopefully you all, that is not what you want to see, is it? There. Are you seeing meeting minutes? Hopefully you are.
Yep, that's what I'm seeing.
Okay, so these are the February meeting minutes. I believe last time, thanks to the feedback from you all, we made some changes pretty quickly to these minutes. I think everybody had opportunity to review them. I don't know if you all wish to have any discussion or if there's anything else that you all would like me to modify before you take your vote.
Looks good to me.
I make a motion, we accept the minutes as presented.
Do we hear a second?
Seconded.
All in favor? I can only see half the screen, so I don't know if everybody's got their hands
I'm
raised.
in favor.
I think it was a unanimous. All right. Those that use the online, I have added in the documents that Chairman Evans sent me during commission today. But just in case anyone has not, certain it's not in Chairman Evans' binder. So this is the current version of Bill 124, which the commission has weighed in on in multiple ways. And a lot of the commission's recommendations have been taken into consideration and adopted into this current version of the bill. So I just wanted to make sure, one, that we're all looking at the same bill when we come to look at these amendments, just for the sake of order in the way I put them on the agenda for today that I'm working on. The first one is an amendment on page 5 of the amended bill, and it's to strike 45 and make it 14. I made notes for myself. Essentially, this is the section that has to do with when the payment of the monthly fees would be, the estimated fees would be for animals that are impounded as part of a cruelty case. It does not modify that first 45-day one. The commission had recommended that the first one be after 45 days. So there's opportunity for whether or not the seizure was warranted and whether or not the animal should remain in custody, so that the commission could weigh in on that prior to the owner of the animals having to pay any fees. In the first amendment, the first round of amendments that went through, this was modified and the 45 was applied unilaterally to all of the time. So when the Animal Matters Commission had previously done it, the recommendation was to change the first one and leave the others at the 5 days, which is what the state code has. But it was moved to 45. So the recommendation is to change this to 14 days, and then there's a second one that will be
28.
28, because the council member just wants to get everybody's feedback on what is ideal and where the commission would stand on those.
Are you asking for the feedback now?
Well, in the past, what we've done is take it one amendment at a time. And then you all take a vote, and then I can record it in the notes. Hopefully I've explained that in a sufficient manner, but I do believe we still have folks from the Office of Law on, if I haven't, and if some more clarification is needed.
I think this one, if I may, Robin, it is, she's putting up one with 14 and another one with 28 as a, if you don't like the 14, well, I got the 28 to fall back on, or if you don't like the 28, I got the 14 to fall back on. It can't be the same.
Correct. My understanding of the way I'm reading it is that it's to reduce the 45, whether it's to reduce the 45, not for the first one, but for the monthly that would be due if we're continuing to house the animals. And in the state law, it's due within 5 days. It would be to change it from the existing proposed version, which has it as 45 days. I'm just gonna scroll so that hopefully I can share what's currently in there. So this would still have the 45 days from when the initial notice, hopefully you can see where I am. So number 4 would be staying the same, but in number 5, which is the monthly, this would be changed with this amendment to be 14 days, and then we're going to do another amendment for 28. So my understanding would be she wants to know both if you feel like those are both improvements, and if yes, which you all prefer. Because it's not going to be.
She hasn't put forth the amendment yet. She's
Right.
going to put it forth to. But which one she brings forth at tonight's council meeting is in some part dependent on the feedback she gets from us and from other agencies. I'm okay with the 14, again, as it is closer to what's in the state statute. I know, or from the discussions I've had outside of this commission, it's my understanding that the Animal Welfare Council would be willing to support the 14 as well. You guys can decide what you.
I like the 14. I mean, I said that from the beginning. So
I agree with Jennifer and Ed. I think, the closer we can get this to have our county stuff match the state would be ideal. And I'm good with 40. I'm good with the 14 as well.
Right. The reason it was, I don't know if you guys remember, the reason we had questioned this at all was just because it seemed kind of punitive, like you could immediately, if you couldn't get that payment together quick enough. But if I'm not mistaken, there's been, it's been addressed in another section that, under special circumstances, like if someone is in the hospital or if there's, or whatever, that they can make other accommodations for people that can't make that payment. There it is, right there in section 10. So I think we've covered all the bases now, addressing everyone's concerns.
good point.
Does that mean there's a motion?
Make a motion that we support the change to 14 days, the amendment to change it to 14 days.
I'll second.
Second.
All in favor?
Okay, so then we'll just do the same one for ease. So this would be changing the 45 days to 28 days. So whether or not this would be supported as well. And am I clear that the preference, well, I don't know if you want to answer that after, the preference is for the 14th.
Yeah, that would appear so.
Yes, I mean, that was the point of the vote. I was saying, my motion was suggesting we support the 14.
That was my understanding as well, Jennifer.
Just trying to make it really clear in the notes.
And is it the 28 one in the amendment? I can't help but feel that that's a backup in case the 14 gets rejected by the council.
It is essentially. I'm
Yeah,
sure if the 14 doesn't get approved tonight, that may very well be the case. But, you know, also had we, if this commission and the other organizations providing feedback to Councilwoman Ledbetter had said, no, we all prefer the 28th, well, then that would likely have been the amendment put forth tonight. So I think, you know, to her credit, she was looking for our feedback prior to putting the amendment in.
Right. Right. Exactly. Unfortunately, it's good to have somebody like that on the council that's looking out and communicating with the not only the commission but animal welfare as well. And again, anybody interested, the wheels of progress turn slow, as you know. So meeting again tonight at 7:00, 44 Calvert Street.
Well, I also think it's, you know, the bill currently as written, you know, it will expire next month. I think there's still some work to be done on the reconsideration section. But one of the things that has happened while this bill has been pending is that originally council did not have benefit of gosh, I'm not sure what the position is called, but didn't have an attorney on staff to help with legislative drafting. But that has changed in the while this bill has been pending, they have hired someone, I believe it was a Miss Beach, to fill that position, someone with extensive experience, not only in drafting legislation, but also in animal welfare specifically. So I know they're working on that. I've seen I'm looking at the revisions to the reconsideration section. And I think, I mean, they're the best set of revisions we've had so far. I am a little concerned that there still is not a threshold finding, only because I just don't want, you know, I worry about the folks that would
One of the things that bothered me about it was I was very much in favor of Miss Ledbetter's 5-year input on the reconsideration. You know,
I don't know if you heard my testimony, Ed, but I testified against that. So I'm just letting you know. I testified at the last hearing. So just to let you know, we are at odds on that.
Oh, okay. Well, I was in favor of her 5-year. I mean, it got confusing, but I believe her amendment was to once every 5 years. And I think that if you're going to do the reconsideration, and it's my opinion that anybody that gets a PDO or a dangerous order and they see it in writing, it'd probably be on there that they can do it every year, our docket's going to get blown out. It's going to get blown out if every time somebody gets a PDO or a dangerous order on their animal, and they can make a reconsideration request every year, we're going to get blown out, and it's just going to be a knee-jerk reaction because there won't be time enough to put in place any kind of behavioral, you know, once every 5 years, I think it would be great because then it would give some time for the animal to adjust to any kind of new behavior, new environment, what have you, instead of doing it every year. That's just my opinion.
Well, I think the 5 years makes sense, Ed, because it really why they're wanting a reconsideration is, as the pet ages, they physically cannot do the things they used to do before that particularly set them off with the PDO. A dog that used to jump fences at 3 is not jumping fences at 13. So, making an accommodation to be able to change that, I think is not unreasonable. 5 years to me seems a little long. 3 seems more reasonable based on the age of most animals, but 5 is certainly good. And you make a good point that if we kept it every year, these hearings are going to be all day affairs for us guys.
Exactly.
The reason, I mean, well, I will just let you folks know, if you didn't watch the hearing, the reason I testified against, I think 5 years is, way too long, but, there's two pieces to this for me. Number one, this is just a reconsideration of the conditions, not the PDO, not the entry of the dangerous order itself.
Correct.
And sometimes there can be reasons not necessarily related to the animal that could warrant a change in the condition. For example, if the homeowner moves from a single family home to an apartment and the original PDO requires the animal to live somewhere with a fenced in yard, well, the minute that person moves from a single family home to an apartment, they're automatically in violation of that order, and there's nothing they can do about it because you can't force your apartment complex to fence in their entire property. But we also have instances where the homeowner, maybe, has a stroke or has been in a car accident, or there's some physical ailment of the homeowners that could require a modification to the order, like a secondary barrier or something. And maybe, now instead we'll kennel the dog when the dog is in the house instead of that barrier because that person can't themselves physically do it. In any event, in my mind, I wanted to be able to put the options out there that, if a circumstance has arisen, that would require a change in the condition, and that change can be reasonably met while still protecting public safety, then they ought to be able to come back and apply. What I had suggested to the council was not so much a time limit as they have to meet a threshold finding of a material change in circumstance. Because even under this, even if whether you do it 1 year, 3 or 5 years, that just means the people that are going to come back and do it just because they're going to do it no matter what. I get it, you're spacing the time period out, but to me, they have to, you don't get to just come back just because. You don't get another bite at that apple just because whatever time limit has expired. There has to be a threshold finding that some circumstances, a material circumstance has changed, something important has changed, not in order to get there. And that was what I had proposed. Because even under the current version, which is suggesting the 12 months, which, like I said, to me, the time limits are somewhat arbitrary. It's fact-based, it's circumstance-based. So anyway,
Jennifer, I would agree to that. The conditions would only be if, like you said, something has happened. That should be the criteria and not a time frame.
It's a good point. I never had that perspective on it, Jennifer. Thank you.
That is a better perspective. Remove the time frame and just have them prove something has occurred, and that's why they want the reconsideration. Something has occurred, since the PDO or the dangerous order or the vicious or whatever. Something has occurred. That should be the triggering mechanism. That's good. Robin? Do we have another amendment to show?
Yes, I'll pull that up. Sorry, I was just trying to type down those notes as well. This is the last one, though I should point out, based on what Commission Member Brienza said, I don't know if she's seen a draft of a reconsideration one, because that was not what was sent to Chairman Evans. These are the only three that he got. So I don't know if you have a specific one that you've seen and would be able to share so that the commission members could weigh in. That might
Oh,
be-
I was talking, but the bill is at the bill as presented now has already been, if you look at the draft that's in the drive, based on
And I'm going to try to switch to share screens. Yes, it has been modified.
since the original version that this commission looked at.
And I just wanted to make sure that we're fully capturing. Okay, which one are you?
Right. If there's no amendment on the table for in that section for tonight, they've already approved, I believe we had suggested we add of conditions to that section to make it clear. The underlined portion was added in 2 places. But there has been no additional revision since the last time. I was just pointing out that was one of the other things that that has yet to be
clarified.
Yes, and I think that's simply because they just we didn't have some, I'm great at making suggestions. I'm not so great at drafting legislation. You'd think I probably know how to do this better being a lawyer, but just getting, I'm not sure I've been very helpful in supplying language. The council has been very responsive, by the way. I have not engaged directly with Councilwoman Ledbetter, but I have engaged with Councilwoman Pickard on this bill. And like I said, they've both to the people that they've been addressing have been very responsive, and they're working hard on this. I think it's just a matter of getting additional assistance with drafting the language.
But the sticking point is still the language that says no more than once in a 12-month period. And that was when Ms. Ledbetter tried to make it 5-year period so that we wouldn't get blasted with our docket. But I like Jennifer's just basic, the requirement to ask for a reconsideration would be that the conditions have changed. So the petitioner would come forth to show what conditions have changed. Like Jennifer said, they had to move such and such, such and such, and leave it at that. Don't put a time frame on it.
You
put
2 pieces,
and they'll be here every year, regardless.
It looks like her and Ritter may no longer be on, but I see that Aisha Hillard from Office of Law may be on. It just sounds like maybe you all are discussing maybe making some suggestions on language.
I don't know that we need to do this during this meeting. I mean, those discussions have been happening, and I haven't seen any new drafts on that language. I guess my concern is, though, this bill is set to expire next month. So I just wanted, if there were any other outstanding issues, I wanted to, put them out there on the table.
So if it expires,
it's unlikely that,
same, right?
I'm sorry?
If it expires, it remains the same. No changes, right?
If it expires,
Well, it still has to be voted on.
to the existing code if it doesn't get moved forward.
Right, if nothing is agreed upon, by the time it expires, it's gone then, correct?
I mean, someone could always reintroduce.
Yeah.
Okay, so do we want to move to that last proposed amendment? Just here. Okay, you guys are seeing the amendment screen, right? Bigger. So my understanding of this one is that it adds in a modification to a section of the code that has not been previously discussed in this bill, which is 124501, authority to impound. And then within that section, it is just clarifying, and again, this is my layperson's understanding, clarifying that once an animal comes into our care, that we are to essentially look out for the best interest of the animal and in terms of daily care and sheltering. So this would make it very clear that if an animal is protective custody, or if an animal is a stray, or what have you, that if we felt like foster was in the animal's best interest, that we 100% absolutely have the authority to do that. And that's not that, I want to be clear, I think that that in many cases it is already very clear, but they wanted it to be unilaterally clear across all types of animals that we may be housing here.
That's being added. Okay, because there is no A and B now. It's just the way it's listed currently is just the 11 items under there. So they're suggesting we do it A and then the 11 conditions under which you may impound, and then adding the B.
Sorry, I had to mute. I had someone walk in. I'm just going to pull up the authority to impound so that you guys can see the whole thing, because as you can see, there's some.
Right, that was.
Yeah, there's some like dots that may make it a little bit funkier. So yeah, so hopefully this will let me.
An old version of the code. Go back to that. There's actually 12 items under there, and my version of the code that I'm reading it on paper, I have it printed out, has 11.
Yeah, there are currently 12. There was a change in 2021 based on looking at the bottom of this. What version are you looking at? I just went to the one that's online.
Yep, I know. I probably have an older. It's because number 12 isn't in my printed version.
Okay.
So I will make sure to correct that.
This would be making this section, the agency may impound, essentially the A. And then there would be a B, as Commission Member Brienza said, and that would add in this in determining appropriate daily care and shelter for an animal impounded, seized, surrendered, or owned by the agency. Under Title IV, the agency shall act in the best interest of the animal.
Okay. I don't have any issue with that. Like I said, I think that was already a given, but maybe just makes it a little clearer for the general public.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I don't see it, in any harm in it at all to add it.
No, I think it's already being done.
Well, then I make a motion that we support that amendment as written.
I'll second that.
All
in favor?
Do you guys want to take a break, or do you want to just try and review these, or do you want me to email them out to everybody and then meet back up? What is the preference? I do have the draft minutes in here.
for this
I
meeting.
would
Or
love to get it done, but I'd like to take at least a 5-minute break so I can use the restroom.
So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna hit share as well. And you wanna meet back here at 12 and I will email this out to everybody.
Awesome.
Very good.
Thanks, Robin.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
12:01. I can talk to you after then. Okay. We are coming back on. And I've tried to put the meeting minutes up on here. I guesstimated an end time, so I'd be happy to fill that in and actually have it. Looks like we still don't have everybody back.
And then you're going to change that 2 to a 3, right? Oh, you did, right? Okay.
Now, if you want me to scroll down.
Robin, are you okay if I change it over to Corporal Wall?
Oh, did I miss you? Yeah, please.
Yeah,
Okay.
some of them are lieutenant, and
Okay, I see what you said. All right.
let me see if it'll let me change it on my end.
It'll let me.
No, it won't let me do it.
Okay. Sorry, everybody. I'm just gonna scroll and hit that one at every spot. Wait, man, I missed a bunch of dates. That one bulletin.
Robin,
Yes, ma'am.
I'm confused on the 28-day amendment. I didn't think we voted on that at all. I thought we just voted to support the 14-day one.
Then we might need to vote on that one way or another, huh?
Right, because my understanding is it's an either or
Right, whichever
thing. It makes no sense for us
first.
to approve both.
Well, I think what Chairman Evans said was he all got the understanding that part of it may depend on if the preference is the 14-day, but that doesn't pass, then they have the option to submit the 28-day as an alternative amendment.
Correct.
Am I? Okay.
Okay, procedurally, I'm not sure, and I could be wrong, I'm not sure how that works. My understanding is based on feedback, the feedback that the councilwoman gets would determine which amendment she puts forward. Perhaps I'm confused on that.
Well,
Chairman Evans, you got the email. Do I have the full email? Let me check and see if
I think you do.
I'm gonna see if I have it. I know you forwarded it.
In communications with Ms. Ledbetter and her aide, I didn't get a yes or a no. I said, I see you got, because when I first read it, it's the same thing. It's 14 days on the line and then 28 days on the line. So I commented and said, I see you have a backup. I like the 14. I see your backup for 28 days. And I didn't get a response back that said, that's not a backup. I want one or the other. And it's just my opinion. The last meeting when Miss Ledbetter went to put her 5-year amendment in, it was rejected by one of the other council people, and it just was shot down. She didn't have anything to go back to, like a 3-year or something. So I am just suspecting that since we got two amendments and they're for the same thing with different days, that I'm not aware of any protocol that if one doesn't fly, she can't initiate the other one. So I couldn't tell you.
Okay, I mean, if, I'm sorry, I know I'm jumping tracks here, but did anyone see the, question in the chat? There's somebody waiting, thinking they were having their cat addressed today?
We don't have any other cases scheduled for today. So if there's someone else that is hoping to have another case heard, if you are scheduled for the Animal Matters Commission, you will receive communication about that. The next month that we will have a hearing is April 1st.
Right.
Okay. Sorry. But if what Ed is saying is true, I mean, if it's a matter of alternatives, I mean, we definitely need to vote on the second one, because I was on my motion that I made only was for the 14 days. So if we would need to vote on the 28 days, and I guess just specify somewhere in the notes that our preference would be for the 14. At least that was my understanding, that our preference is for the 14. But if necessary, we could go to the 28.
Definitely put preference for the 14. But I can add on the 28 day one. Is this one? Should be sharing screen with you.
I mean, if the 14 don't fly and we reject the 28, then it goes back to 45.
Correct.
Okay, I mean, if that's how it, I'm fine with that. I just, we actually need to do it, because we didn't, as a technical matter, we did not vote on that 28 days.
Right. We prefer the 14, but push comes to shove, we'd accept the 28, I guess.
Well, no, that says the preference is 14 days, but 28 is preferable to not, I don't. Oh, preferable to 45. Gotcha, Robin.
Yeah, sorry. I had to add another line for it to let me squeeze it in there.
Okay, so then I will make that motion to adopt the 28-day amendment.
I'll second that.
With the understanding, but I just want to clarify, I'll make the motion to support the 28-day amendment with the understanding that the 14 days is preferable between the two.
Right, as Robin wrote it.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine.
Second that motion.
All in favor?
They're unanimous. And also, where is it? So it looks like it's out of kind of order. You guys had some other discussion. I don't know if you want this in here or not. I was just trying to make the notes.
Like it's my only I mean, the notes on the other discussion, they're correct. Like I said, I mean, if somebody really wanted a time frame, okay, but I still think even with a time frame, there needs to be some threshold finding. You don't get to come back just because you're allowed once every 12 months or once every 3 years or whatever. There has to be a reason, some material change that warrants us reconsidering the conditions. And you have to be able to demonstrate that you can make that change in conditions and still protect public safety.
I agree with that, and that alone should be the criteria for the reconsideration. No time frame. I think a time frame should be just eliminated, and that be the criteria. Exactly what you just said, Jennifer. I like that. You must have to come forward, begin with the commission with exactly what you said, a change, something that has changed and still protects public safety. Not just because you can do it every year. That would kill us. I mean, we worked really hard to get this docket to where, it's reasonably timely. If something was put in there that they can ask for reconsideration every 12 months, they're going to do that. And I really like your idea that they must come forward with some kind of viable change that still protects the public safety as a criteria to even ask for it, and just remove the time frame. Whenever that occurs. It can occur 6 months after, it can occur 3 years after, it can occur 5 years after. And that's when you come forward.
Yeah, I guess in Jennifer's example, like you went from a fenced yard to a condo or an apartment, and that could happen even less than a year. Right after a hearing, you may move, and we're right in that situation where there's been a material change, and you may need a reconsideration in circumstance.
Right, but the way the statute's currently written, the minute you're in violation, the minute you make that move, like from a house to a condo, you're in violation, and animal control can seize your animal because of that.
Yeah, I think it's well put, Jeff. I never saw it through that lens, but I think that's a really astute observation on your part.
It is. Very good. And I think that would be much better. It would resolve it would keep the docket. They would need just cause to come forward for reconsideration. Not a time frame, just cause.
That's got all the amendments. Hopefully you guys can also scroll through on yours, but if I'm scrolling too fast or not fast enough, please let me know. So then we have the 2 5-minutes and then the 3 4-minutes. I just left them as last time. As you can tell, I just copy and pasted. So obviously today's are not yet cleared. I did add tonight's county council meeting for those interested. Can modify the time to whatever time we actually adjourn, as long as that's the way whoever makes the motion.
Okay, that's what we're waiting on then, I suppose. Is everybody satisfied with the minutes thus far?
Yes, I am.
Yes.
We get a motion to accept the minutes.
I'm
So
gonna make
moved.
the minutes for today's meeting.
I'll second.
Motioned and seconded. All in favor?
Other things that you all would like to discuss that are not on the agenda.
Nope, I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Oh, excuse me. There's a bill that's come before the state legislature that I just wanted you all to be aware of. It's House Bill 1443. It will legalize the sale of fireworks in Maryland, which in respect to our animals, this could have a great impact on both domestic and livestock animals, and in particular with the shelter and animal control possibility of lost runaway animals increasing.
What was the name of that bill again, Jackie?
It is House Bill 1443. It will legalize fireworks in the state of Maryland.
1443?
Yes.
Is
The
there a
mayor-
corresponding
the-
state or Senate bill?
I don't know if there's a corresponding yet. I just heard about this one. The Maryland Horse Council, we are offering an amendment that would require written notification of properties that surround livestock. But this certainly could have a great impact on our animals.
You got that right. They blow them suckers up around here all the time anyway. Illegal where I live. I mean, you know, you make them legal, man, it's going to be 4th of July every day in the summer.
Yeah.
All right. Having that, anybody have any other issues before we entertain the motion to adjourn? The motion to adjourn has been made and seconded. All in favor?
Who seconded?
Who seconded it? I think Tom, did Tom make the motion and Jennifer second? Or Jennifer made the motion and Tom seconded.
I can second. It's fine. I'm out of here.
Okay. All in favor?
You guys have a good day.
Okay, you too.
Take care, Tom.
too.
Have a good month.
Good day, everyone.
All right,
Bye.
guys.
Thank you. Bye, everybody.
Robin, I'll be around Thursday to sign now.